When I was just a little boy, I asked my mother, what will I be? Oh, will I be happy? Will I be rich? And this is what she said to me. She said, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Future's not ours to see. No, no, no. Well, when I grew up and fell in love, I asked my baby what lies ahead. Oh, will there be sunshine day after day? And this is what my baby said. Sing it! She said, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. No, no, no. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. David, now play. Now I have children of my own. They ask their mother, what will I be? They say, will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Will I get to go to the camp in Peachtree City? I tell them tenderly, que sera, sera. Whatever will be. The future's not ours to see. Hey, 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 hey. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Hey, sera, sera. Oh. Whatever will be, will be. Oh, whatever will be, will be. Here we go. Oh. Everybody say yeah! 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 Yeah!
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend a night in the box.
A night in the box, indeed. We all know what happens in the box. What happens in the box stays in the box, or never leaves the box, whichever you prefer. Welcome one, welcome all to a special edition of the Fromville Hour. I know it's not our usual Sunday night, but we are here on Monday tonight. We'll be back to Sunday nights next week, but yesterday I was a little under the weather, so I figured I would push it back to Monday. And dive into an interesting topic that I always love talking about here on the show. Not just season 4 fan theories, but Man in Yellow fan theories in particular. This character made a huge splash on the show at the end of season 3 and has been the subject of so many theories, so many, good and bad. And tonight, we want to hear some of yours. We want to know, what do you think about the Man in Yellow? What did you think of his appearance? What do you think? What kind of role do you think he's going to play on the show? What are some of your Man in Yellow theories? We want to know. We want to hear them. I mean, I can't remember, and I said this to Doug when we had him on the show, the actor who plays the Man in Yellow. I can't remember the last time a character has been introduced onto an already established show that made this big of a splash with such little screen time. I believe he was on screen for like less than a minute in total, and he has already dominated the conversation heading into season 4, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and how could he not, right? He makes his first appearance wearing this striking yellow, bright yellow, dirty suit, right?
Yeah.
And then he gives the people what they want. They wanted to see Jim go, and he delivered. So of course, immediately right off the bat, he has a whole group of people that are fans of his now. And I would have to say that's like one of the best villains entrances that I've seen.
It really is. If he is a villain, if he is indeed a villain, it is one of the best villain introductions that I've ever seen. I think he's a villain personally. And I hope that he is the big bad of the series. I feel like we're getting very late into the show where we're only getting maybe 2 more seasons in total. I feel like to introduce a big bad on top of him would be a little much narratively wise, although it's very much possible. The Man in Yellow might not be the main villain. It's totally possible that he might play a totally different role on the show, which could be interesting either way. But I can't wait. Again, I always bring it up, but I can't shake that one thing that Doug said when he was on the channel here, when he brought up the possibility of the Man in Yellow maybe not being a villain. I mean, we see him in this one context, and of course, he very much presents himself like a villain the way he took out Jim. But what if there's a little bit more that we don't know? What if there's a little more to his story that might paint him in a different light that isn't as villainous? And I always thought that was an interesting concept coming from the actor playing him. But no, I'm really hoping he's going to be the big bad. I'm hoping he's going to have a pretty good role in season 4. One thing that does scare me is that they're not going to utilize him a lot in season 4 until like the end of the season, and then really have him in season 5 more prominently. I hope that's not the case, but we know how From is. They set things up, they draw them out pretty long before we get a satisfying kind of conclusion. So I hope the Man in Yellow gets a good amount of screen time in season 4, but part of me at least wouldn't be too surprised if we don't see a whole lot of him until the end of the season.
Yeah, that would make sense. I do see in the Discord, right? Everybody's theorizing that maybe he has a boss. Maybe he's
Yes,
definitely not the best in town, right? So he's somewhat villainous. I feel like we can discount the fact that he killed Jim. That's villainous, okay? But he might be working for someone else.
true.
We do see that he doesn't look like that picture that we saw earlier in the season,
Mhm.
where he looks like he's younger and his suit is bright and he looks full of life and zest, right? He
Yeah,
looks a little deteriorated when we see him. He's older. He
yeah,
looks a little worse for wear. His outfit is just not, it's not even the same. He's not wearing the same shirt,
yeah.
so he's wearing his undershirt. So he definitely went through something. But who
Mhm.
or what caused them to go through that? Was it the townspeople? Or if there is another big bad, a boss, if you will, was it him? Is he not pleasing his boss, right? So
Ah.
many things.
Yeah, I mean, there really is a ton of questions, right? I mean, so little screen time, but has birthed a whole, feels like a whole new show in and of itself, just trying to figure out who the Man in Yellow is, on top of everything else that's going on in From. But yeah, I mean, like you said, that was a very interesting detail, how the first iteration that we see of the Man in Yellow is this one, where he, like you said, he looks a lot younger, his suit's a lot cleaner, he's got a whole head of, nice dark hair, he's not gray. Clearly, this Man in Yellow has gone, like you said, he's gone through something. We see how broken and disheveled he is at the end of season 3 when he first appears. And it's very much a stark contrast to what he looked like when he was, when we first saw him. So that's is one thing I'm looking forward to seeing. What is his backstory? Who is this Man in Yellow? How did he get to Fromville? What role does he play in Fromville? And of course, how did he go from A to B, from this young, kind of much younger, much healthier looking Man in Yellow to the kind of older, disheveled version that we see here. I mean, we've heard a little bit of the inspiration behind the character from John Griffin, at least in terms of him, driving one day and seeing this man in all yellow suit, like super clean, super fresh. And then I guess like a year later, he saw that exact same man in that same yellow suit, only he was completely disheveled and a mess. And John Griffin kind of alluded to, what the passage of time does to some people, how it can really be detrimental, how it can really screw you up depending on what you go through. So I thought that was an interesting kind of, little tidbit that he gave us. But I feel like that is more kind of cosmetic. I want to know more about his personality. Who is he really deep down? What kind of role is he going to play and stuff like that? But I do think it's interesting how he was inspired by seeing this man in a yellow suit one year and then seeing, by chances, what are the odds of seeing that exact same man a year later looking all disheveled? I mean, like, what are the odds of that? It's a very interesting encounter that I think he had there. But yeah, I mean, the Man in Yellow is very intriguing. Still, so much we don't know about. I mean, there's practically everything we still don't know about, and we know nothing about this character really yet, apart from him showing up and seemingly, at least, probably being a little more powerful than the monsters. I feel like that's one of the only things we know for sure. I mean, he's got superhuman strength that we've seen, ripping Jim's throat out like it was nothing. And he comes out during the day. So we know that he is not beholden to the moon and sun, the way the monsters are, which begs the question, do the talismans work on him? Which I think, no way. There's no way a talisman is going to keep the Man in Yellow out. That's just my guess. We have no kind of evidence one way or another. But I feel like if this Man in Yellow entity or this person is, strong enough to come out during the day, he has clearly a superhuman strength and clearly knows everything about the people in Drumville. It's not like he's just some stranger that stumbled into town. When he showed up, he knew exactly who people were. He knew exactly what people were doing in Drumville since the very beginning, revealing that he was the voice on the phone at the end of season 1. So clearly there's a lot there to unpackage. In terms of who this Man in Yellow is and what role he's going to be playing. But in terms of just coming out of the gate swinging, one of the most memorable entrances onto a show, his is up there for me.
Yeah. And I really like the image that it invokes when the writer described seeing that man. I believe he said it was in LA, right?
LA,
he was on the corner in LA. And LA is known for being the type of place where people go in there with just so much hope, inspiration, desire to become. And it just, exactly, it eats you up, it chews you back out, and you end up completely, either your dream is going to come true or you're going to be just like, your hopes and dreams will be demolished by the end of the experience. So I also like that the particular place where he saw this man is a very difficult place. It's a place of transition. You either become or you fail. And if you fail, you don't just fail. You fail so deeply. Like your dreams are crushed. You will never, ever want to be a singer or an actor or anything because they will let you know you're not good at it or you don't have what it takes. It's a very difficult place to be. And it makes me think, right? Everybody's saying that maybe he has a story. And as we know, with storytelling, good storytelling, the villain always has to have a story, a reason why he became the way that he is, right? Or a reason for being. So, of course, I'm sure that we're going to get a backstory on him. One of the funniest theories, and I think you're going to remember this because somebody said it on your Discord, I think, was that he was living in the motel and his daughter was Kimono Lady. Do you remember that theory?
Yes.
And that he looked like that because he's going through a difficult time. He's living in the motel. Kimono Lady is his daughter. That's why she also looks that way.
I do remember that one. I do remember that one. And again, it's all theories are interesting on some level. But I mean, I feel like with the motel, that's another big mystery that we know just nothing about. Where did this motel go? What happened to it, and etc. So I feel like the motel is an interesting thing to pull into other theories because there's just so much we don't know about it. So it can fit in other theories kind of nicely sometimes. But no, I do remember that one. That is an interesting one. That the Man in Yellow was the Kimono Lady's father. interesting, if nothing else. I'm not sure if that's something I believe. I don't think it's going that way, but I do think it's interesting nonetheless. Who knows with From? But we want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you think. What are some of your theories on the Man in Yellow? Who do you think he is? How did he become what he is now? Was he human at some point, or is he an otherworldly entity? And I guess that's one thing we really need to find out. Was he a regular human? When I look at this picture of the Man in Yellow, this makes it look like he was a regular human at one point and something happened to him. He underwent some kind of transition into what he is now. Although he could have always been some kind of otherworldly entity and something else could have happened to him, which could explain the aging. I mean, we see the boy in white, for instance. The boy in white is actively aging. Now, at first, that seemed to be a little bit more along the lines of hiring a child actor on a show. The kid's going to end up aging. But it seems like they found a clever workaround to write that into the story. So the boy in white looking older and older didn't seem weird to the audience. We know that Fromville is changing. It got its first winter in Lord knows how long in season 3, where before that it was kind of always stuck in this state of perpetual summer. So we know that Fromville itself is changing, and the boy in white is changing and aging with it for the first time. And I'm wondering if maybe many cycles ago something similar happened to the Man in Yellow, where he's undergoing a similar change, whereas Fromville changes, he's changing with it. But who knows? I mean, we have no idea, really not much of anything to go on in terms of who he really is, just really theories at this point. And there's a lot of good ones out there and a lot of weird ones out there. But tonight, we want to hear from you guys. What are some of your theories on the Man in Yellow? And of course, anything pertaining to Fromville. Nothing is off the table. You know how we like to get down. All From subjects are welcome. Let's see who we got in here tonight, shall we? We got Ragnarok Falls, who was first in the chat tonight. Welcome, Ragnarok Falls from Villains. Yes, what is up with my From Villains? From Villains, guys. Welcome from Villains. We got Samuel B. Welcome, Samuel. Good to see you, my friend. I think the Man in Yellow has a lifespan and reincarnates every cycle. Ooh, now that's an interesting one. I mean, with the introduction of reincarnation, which was pretty much confirmed in season 3 with the reincarnated versions of Jade and Tabitha. We've all been wondering, are there other characters in Fromville that also get reincarnated? Is this just a Jade and Tabitha thing? Or are more characters in Fromville right now reincarnations of previous versions from previous cycles? Don't know. I mean, some people think everybody is a reincarnation on the show, and some people think it's only Tabitha and Jade. I'm not sure which way I land on that one, to be honest. I feel like it could go either way. But the Man in Yellow potentially having a lifespan and reincarnating every cycle, that's a very interesting one. I mean, it could, if that is true, Samuel, then it could potentially be that the Man in Yellow in this painting, the one that Miranda painted, could have been a previous cycle Man in Yellow, maybe not the exact same one that we know now. So that's an interesting theory. You ever thought about that? What do you think about that, chat and PM? Do you think it's possible that the Man in Yellow himself might be a reincarnation as well?
I really like it, Samuel B. I like the idea, and I'd like to connect it to what Jeremy said previously. We know that the boy in white said, of course I'm changing, everything is changing. You changed too, Victor. And I think that was a good way of showing us Victor was once a boy, and now he is an older adult in the town. The boy in white, once presented as a very young child, now he is a preteen. If we connect that to what Samuel is saying and what you said, then yeah, potentially there's a reincarnation, but who reincarnates as the Man in Yellow is the boy in white. Eventually, if the boy in white keeps this up, he's going to become a young man and then an older man. Maybe that's how it is. They're one and the same. The boy in white and the Man in Yellow are interconnected. And as you grow up, you become the Man in Yellow. So that's where he's going, right? He's presenting in both manners, potentially.
Potentially. And with the introduction of story walking, we know that some of these characters' timelines aren't 100% linear. They're not always, not all of these characters are on a linear timeline going from A to B. Like Julie, her timeline is very much a river more than a straight line. And maybe that is true for other characters as well. Maybe Julie isn't the only story walker. But no, I think that's an interesting idea because I wondered that myself too, if the man in yellow could be an older version of the boy in white from a different time, from maybe a different time in the future that story walked back. I always wondered that if these two characters are connected in some way, because you think the boy in white, man in yellow, just visually, symbolically looking at these characters just off on the surface, they do very much invoke a kind of yin and yang kind of feeling almost. And I do wonder, what is the connection between these two characters? Are they connected? And if they are, in what manner? That is one thing I hope they explore a little bit more in season 4. Because I mean, putting the man in yellow aside for a second, there's still a ton we don't know about the boy in white too. The boy in white is still a massive mystery in terms of who he is, where he comes from, what his ultimate role is going to be in all of this. We still don't know anything about the boy in white either. So both of these characters are still incredibly mysterious. So I'm hoping that we get a little bit more of both of their backstories in season 4, but we shall see. We shall see. We got Elizabeth in the house. Welcome, Elizabeth. Oh, we got a few super chats. Let me get to those quick. We got from Downtown 296. Thank you so much from Downtown 296 for the $10. That is very, very much appreciated. I think you're right about we won't learn about him in the beginning of season 4. Think about it. There wasn't anything jaw-dropping in season 3 after Kenny's mom bit the bullet. Nothing like too crazy big until the finale. Yeah. And I'm wondering if they are going to follow kind of maybe a similar format in season 4. Although part of me wonders, since there probably is only going to be 2 seasons left, that maybe it's going to start to pick up a little bit more, and we're going to start seeing these bigger events happen more frequently and in the middle of the season too, not just in the beginning and the end. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more of an intense season in season 4, where a little bit more happens, probably a lot more character deaths I'm envisioning. But no, this has always been a concern of mine as well, is, maybe they're going to hold the man in yellow back until the very end of the season and set him up big for season 5. I think that's a very real possibility. I hope it's not the case, but I definitely wouldn't be too surprised if we don't get a ton of man in yellow during the first half of the season. I wouldn't be too shocked.
Yeah. Thank you from Downtown 296. And I guess it depends, right? So I think you guys are right. We're probably not going to open season 4 with a big explanation and revelation as to who the man in yellow is, why he did what he did. So we're definitely not going to get that. But when I think about season 3, after Kenny's mom bit the bullet, as you put it.
Yeah.
Love it. There was a couple of surprises. I mean, we got Victor's dad, right?
Yeah.
Victor's dad came into town. We got the town meeting. Tabitha came back. That was after her death, correct? That's when Tabitha came back.
Yeah, Tabitha came back. Yeah, true. Tabitha doesn't come back until the 4th episode, I believe, like the end of the 4th episode, and more so in the 5th episode is when she's like really back. We have there are some things that happen. We have the, Randall being left for dead from Boyd during that episode. There was some pretty interesting stuff that happened in between there. So in my opinion, anyway.
But I do like from Downtown the connection that you make as to what they choose to focus on.
Yeah.
So I do agree. They're not going to focus on the man in yellow. And there's so much going on. They have Smiley baby to deal with. They have Fatima, Tilly's murder, and also Jim's body that they're going to find in the middle of the day. So they're probably going to focus on those things first, and we're not going to get anything about the man in yellow until later on. But who knows? They could always surprise us. He could just start walking around town, just roaming the streets. We never know.
He could. You never know. I guess you never do know. But no, I do tend to agree with you, and I do tend to agree with you from downtown as well. I mean, I just have that feeling. I guess part of me just has a feeling we're not going to see a whole lot of Man in Yellow at the beginning of the season. They'll probably save him for the back half of the season, because, like you mentioned, PM, all those very valid points. There's so much other stuff that they kind of need to get to and kind of wrap up before they dive headfirst into the Man in Yellow. Like with everything that happened with Fatima, Smiley, all of that, like you just mentioned. So there's a lot of stuff there that I imagine they're probably going to dive into first. So I do agree with you there as well. We also have From Downtown for another $2. Thank you so much, From Downtown, for another two. Very much appreciate that. And yeah, this I wholeheartedly agree with, my friend. The time between each seasons, average 14 months. Jeez. Right. Tell me about it. And we say it all the time. I mean, gone are the days of getting 10, 15, sometimes 20 episode seasons every single year like clockwork. I very much miss those days. I long for the days of Lost and Sons of Anarchy and the early days of Supernatural and 24 and all of these shows that managed to scrape together anywhere from 16 to 24 episodes, good episodes, and get it out every single year like clockwork without delay. And now here we are just a few years later, and we're getting 6 episodes, 8 episodes, 10 episode seasons at most. Like these days, it feels like a 10 episode season feels like a long season. Like that is a long season these days to get 10 episodes. A lot of the stuff we watch is anywhere from 6 to 8. So even a 10 episode season seems to be like super long compared to what we used to get. But yeah, only 10 episodes, and we're waiting a year and a half usually in between seasons. It's a bit unfortunate. TV production has taken a big step back. Now, on one hand, yes, TV production quality has stepped up a lot. You look at the quality of television that we're getting nowadays, it really is, in a lot of the shows that we watch, it feels like a mini movie you're getting every week. It doesn't always feel like an episode of television. Alien Earth was a really good example of this on this most recent episode. We finally got the answer to what happened on the Maginot. How did the ship really crash? And it didn't feel like an episode of television. It just felt like a feature film, just a shorter feature film. So every episode that we get these days on a lot of the shows that we like and that we cover here on the channel, it's they're putting together about almost a little mini movie every week, and it's not always feeling super episodic. So I get why sometimes it can take a little bit longer, but yeah, these wait times in between shows, it really is a bummer. It kills so much momentum that is really hard to kind of build back up when the new seasons come back around. Now, From is kind of established, so the momentum usually builds back up organically, but not many other shows have the kind of dedicated fandom that From has. And momentum can be a real killer. I think about Severance in particular. It took almost 2.5 years or so in between Severance season 1 and season 2. That's insane. Like it should not take 2 to 2.5 years to film 10 episodes of television. It just shouldn't. So it is unfortunate, and I do agree with you, From Downtown. We have to wait way too long in between seasons these days for everything, not just From.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. From Downtown. And thank you for doing the math. It felt awfully long. So I'm glad that you did the math. And now we know that it's an average of 14 months, which feels like an eternity. Okay. They can do this to us. I
I
agree with
know.
people in the chat. People are saying it's criminal. And indeed it is criminal. There's freaks like us. Like I get so attached to these characters. They really do become a comfort. That's why people say, they have comfort shows.
Yeah.
The characters become part of your everyday life. And all of a sudden they're just taken away for 14 months. So I do find it super difficult to wait and to not talk about the show and not be obsessed with the show when they're not filming, because I just want to continue doing it, which is another reason why, if you haven't joined Jeremy's Discord, join the Discord, because for those of us that carry on with this obsession, we talk about the show 24/7, 7 days a week, filming or not filming. Like, we are on there
Mhm.
talking about the characters that we love. So join the Discord if you are like us.
Indeed. Dive on into those rabbit holes with us. We love the company. Absolutely. But no, yeah, you guys are right. I wholeheartedly agree with a lot of you. And I think the Demonent brings up a really good point here. 6 to 8 episode seasons is criminal. It really is criminal. And the second part, I agree with even more. We don't need $200 million budget shows. You should be able to produce a pretty good show with a quarter of a budget of that. I mean, $50 million is still a good amount of money to spend on a season of television. And yes, and I think that's the problem. We're seeing a lot of these shows these days. They're trying to come out with the next Game of Thrones. All of them want to be the next Game of Thrones. Not so much in the next fantasy show, but in terms of the next kind of show that takes over the globe, that becomes a cultural phenomenon all around the world. Everyone wants to have that next Game of Thrones. So they're dumping 200, sometimes 250, almost 300 million into a single season of television that only has 8 to 10 episodes. And it's crazy. It's a little bit crazy. And because of it, we're left waiting, again, on average, 14 months in between seasons of From. And it sucks. It sucks. It's, you hate to have to wait so long for something that we all love so much. But again, big thank you for the super chats. And I owe you from downtown. Oh, whoa. Ode whoa. Let's see what the rest of you guys are saying. Let me scroll down here a little bit. We got Petra in the house as well. Welcome, welcome. We got Elizabeth in the building. So something to ponder. Fatima became pregnant and things started to die before Smiley died. So was Fatima always destined to birth a monster, or did the monster Smiley replace her child? That's been another question that we've definitely been wondering for a while as well. Because, I mean, we brought this up last year, like right when that episode aired. The timeline just doesn't quite add up. It almost like Smiley being reborn wasn't always the plan. Maybe it was kind of shoehorned in because maybe they recognized that the fandom, wanted Smiley back so much. I hope that's not the case, because that kind of writing very much scares me. When writers, see something within the fandom, react to it, and then change their story because of it. That always makes me nervous. I always prefer writers that are just very confident in their story and they stick to it. But a show like this, you never know. So I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure if the whole Smiley being born thing was always meant to happen, or if it was something like you mentioned, where maybe Fatima's baby got taken over by Smiley. Was Fatima ever really pregnant with a human child, I guess? I'm not quite sure. I still have no idea. No idea.
I mean, okay, so more than likely, do you believe that they changed it for the fans, that it wasn't supposed to be Smiley who was reborn?
I don't know at this point. I really don't. I really don't know at this point.
I feel like the storyline could have gone both ways. So
Yeah.
if they changed it and they made it so that Smiley would be the product of her pregnancy, that makes sense. And that appeases the fans that wanted Smiley back, because he became an icon, right? Iconic, our favorite monster. Also, if that was not what was intended, From likes to torture people by giving them things that they are afraid of, right? Sarah mentions that her brother was terrified of cicadas, and all of a sudden there's cicadas everywhere, right? And he was afraid because when they would go camping at night, he feared the cicadas for some reason. And that's what they're doing. They're attacking people in their sleep. So when I saw that Fatima was pregnant and she was reluctant to accept the pregnancy, she wasn't super excited about it. She had a feeling that this was a bad thing because she was not able to conceive a child. She herself knew this. It was only Donna who encouraged her and said, "This is a miracle," right? I'm thinking that the storyline maybe was just torture to give her what they call a psychotic, pregnancy, which is something that happens in the real world too, where the person presents as pregnant and then gives birth to water, just a gush of just water, a phantom pregnancy.
Phantom
Insane.
pregnancy. Yeah.
And that in itself would be horrifying enough if you think about it. If we were to see Fatima go through an entire pregnancy and then it's nothing but just like this phantom pregnancy, that in itself is terrifying.
Oh my God.
So I think it could go either way. I think it could have been either one. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think you could go either way at this point. It's tough to know which way for sure. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, either way, it definitely stood out to me as well. And will we ever get an answer for that? I don't know. I doubt it. But even down in the chat, someone reminds me, the boy in yellow says, same way they changed Victor's path. He was supposed to die after season 1. They might have changed that too. That's another good point. I mean, Scott McCord was never meant to be a series regular on the show, from what we hear. Apparently, in the earliest versions of the story, Victor dies at the end of season 1, but something happened along the way where that changed. And thank God it did, because imagine if we would have gotten robbed of all those great moments, all those great Victor moments that we get in seasons 2 and 3. If he were to become, offed at the end of season 1, that would have been such a big. I mean, I can't even imagine this show without Victor. He's so ingrained into the fabric that is from Ville, that at this point I can't even picture what the show would look like without Victor. But yes, there were those reports that originally he was maybe supposed to die in season 1. So who knows? Maybe they can change more.
That worries me. Oh, that terrifies me, actually.
I know.
I love that you guys do all the research, right? I always say your chat is some of the most intelligent people I've ever met. They do the
Let's
research,
chat.
know everything, the best chat in the world. But that terrifies me when I hear things like that, because it makes me wonder, what was the real story of From then? If we were to
Exactly.
get the actual story, what was it? Was it not this? Because Victor is such a big part of the story.
Right?
His mother, the fact that he buried his mother and Eloise has now become one of the biggest mysteries. But if
Yeah.
he wasn't supposed to live past season 1, then was Eloise supposed to have also maybe just passed away and not be such a big deal? The big deal that we are making her out to be. We would have never had the reunion with his father.
Ugh.
That's a huge part of the story, right? One of our favorite scenes in the whole series. So
Ugh.
it worries me, because it makes me wonder, what is the real From story? What was it
What was the
originally?
original? Yeah. What was the original outline for this characters, for the story? Because like, I mean, yeah, he's just such a big part of the show. Not just a huge part of the fandom, where just about all of the fans love the character of Victor, but as you mentioned, narratively wise, story wise, he's a huge part of the show. So if that is true, and if the original version did have him dying at the end of season 1, I would love to see the outline of their earlier versions for the show. What did the show look like? How much did the show change, I guess, is the question. Because yeah, I mean, Victor has given us some of the best scenes that we have ever gotten. I mean, Victor meeting his dad will forever go down as one of the best scenes I've ever seen on From. Not just in what it represents, and a lost father, a father reuniting with his long lost son. Not only is it very nice in that manner, but just the way that they play this scene. The acting is phenomenal in this scene by both Robert Joy and Scott McCord, but in particular Scott McCord. He kills this scene, and he does it all with one line of dialogue.
It's okay. Everything's okay.
Know how to get home. didn't know how to get home. It's okay. It's okay.
Ah,
My
that,
God. Jeremy,
that
you can't be doing this to us. We can't break down on a Monday afternoon.
sorry, deep apologies. Well, it's Monday night by now. I think we can break down a little bit. Um, no, I mean it's just one little line of dialogue, super simple line of dialogue, but it's all in the delivery. You know, the way Victor delivers those lines. I didn't know how to get home. I didn't know how to get home. You just see the 10-year-old child being brought right out of him in that scene as if he is 10 years old. I mean, he always kind of seems like a child. That's one of the brilliant one of the things that's so brilliant about Scott McCord's performance as Victor. He perpetually seems like a 10-year-old child, but in scenes like this in particular, it's like you can practically see young Victor right there, hugging his father and being reunited with him. Just incredibly powerful scene. And, again, who knew what one little line of dialogue could do in the right hands? Very memorable.
It's just like so heartbreaking. And it just shows you like the psychological effect of what a child would say, right? He is phenomenal. He's phenomenal in his
Yes.
role. But that is what a child would psychologically do. They would take on the blame instead of
Yes.
saying like, "Dad, why didn't you come pick me up?" or, "Why didn't you look for me?" They don't think that way.
Yeah.
Just like, "I didn't know how to get home. I'm sorry, I messed up." He was so afraid of seeing his father because he had aged. He even felt guilty for aging. He's like,
Yeah.
he's not gonna remember me. He remembers a little boy, and I
Yeah.
don't look like a little boy anymore. So
No.
he felt this deep guilt about everything, about going missing, about aging, about the way he looked and the way that he acted. It then makes it so complex, right? Because after this beautiful scene, we start to see that his father, even though he was saying, this is all I ever wanted, to see my son again, he
Yeah.
starts noticing that Victor is a little strange,
Yeah.
particular, unusual, which of course he is. He grew up in Frumville, right? And he starts not thinking of it as super pleasant. He starts getting freaked out because he's seeing Victor screaming at a puppet, and it's our beloved Jade that has to remind him, like, "Hey, you're making him feel bad for being like strange. Like, don't come here and make him feel bad for being strange. He's gonna be strange. He grew up here."
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's so complex because he's so thankful to find him again, and yet still kind of found it disturbing the state of his child.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I mean, like you said, and Victor was afraid of it, like you mentioned, his father, in Victor's mind, Victor's father was picturing this 10-year-old boy that he lost, not this grown middle-aged man that is just incredibly scarred and traumatized from having lived decades in this place, with all of these nightmares around him. So again, it was a very good scene, and probably in terms of like shows setting up reunions between two characters, Lost did this pretty well. In a few different cases, there are a few cases where two characters would get separated, and sometimes they would go a whole season or two before they kind of reunite. Lost set up some really good reunions, in particular with Jin and Sun. Every once in a while, like Jin and Sun had some really good reunions, but this is right up there with the best of them. They set this reunion up perfect, and they executed it even better. But yeah, I couldn't even imagine. Tangent aside, I couldn't imagine what the show would look like without Victor. But tonight we're going to talk some more Man in Yellow. Sorry for the deviation, but it's always fun to talk a little Scott McCord. The actor did so amazing with what little he had on screen. Loved his interview as well. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, and that was one thing that was very interesting to learn from him, was how little they actually gave him. I mean, usually you want to kind of give the actor as much as you possibly can so they can kind of, get the best possible scene they can. But even the actor playing the Man in Yellow has no idea who he is, has no idea of his origins, where he came from, nothing. The only thing they gave him was what he needed to film this one scene. Even the actor doesn't have the origin to the Man in Yellow, or at least didn't at the time they filmed this scene. I imagine he'll learn sooner or later once he has to act it out. But at the time of them filming this entrance scene for the Man in Yellow, the actor knew nothing about the character. They only gave him his lines for this scene. And I thought that was very interesting. Not too surprising, considering the mystery nature of the show and how we hear John Griffin likes to kind of keep some things close to the chest, even from his own team. But yeah, I mean, it's like you said, he pulled off an incredible scene with very, very little information as to who the Man in Yellow was. So it's very impressive. Imagine if the Man in Yellow will terrorize the town. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I imagine, again, I really want to see his origin. I really want to learn his backstory. I want to see him in the story currently, presently too, as well. Obviously, like I definitely want to see what part he's going to play on the show. But at this point, I'm more concerned with, I just want to know his origin. I just want to know who this guy is. Where did he really come from? And how did he become this? Was he born like this? Is he some other kind of entity? Or was he human at some point and something happened to him that made him this? That is what I want to find out. I think all the creatures are playing a game. Man in Yellow, Boy in White, creatures, man on the radio/phone. I mean, they definitely are taunting. I mean, the monsters are very taunting. It definitely seems like they play a little bit of a game with their prey. I mean, these are prey to them, but they certainly don't want the hunt to be over fast. They like playing with their food, as the creators like to call it, the monsters. But yeah, there's a lot of theories out there in terms of, the grand cosmic chess game theory that a lot of people talk about, of this kind of cosmic chess game being played in the background between two forces for control of the town. And, and that very well could be what's going on. But definitely a lot of hints at some kind of game may be happening. He's definitely a villain, but not the main evil, in my opinion. And that's another theory as well, where people do think he is going to be, a villain, just not the main evil of Fromville, the main kind of entity or the main force that controls Fromville. Because whatever is in control of Fromville, it clearly has some kind of sentience to a certain degree. It gets angry, even as the Boy in White says, this place gets angry when you try too hard to uncover information you shouldn't have, or if you try too hard to escape. So I could totally understand or see it, at least possible, that the Man in Yellow is some kind of enforcer for the main evil in Fromville, that there's this main kind of evil force, and the Man in Yellow is his kind of boots on the ground to kind of take care of things when things get a little too far or a little too close to being discovered, like we saw here in season 3. It seemed like Tabitha and Jade got closer to, discovering a lot about this place, at least closer than probably any other previous reincarnation, as far as we know. We know Miranda didn't get anywhere near as far as Tabitha and Jade did. And then the Man in Yellow shows up. Maybe he showed up for that reason. Maybe he isn't the main big bad. Maybe he's working for the main big bad. That's another popular theory. And I can see that potentially being a possibility, him being the kind of, again, the boots on the ground for the main force that is in control of Fromville. Maybe he serves this main force.
I love that. I love the boots on the ground. He's boots on the ground. Totally. And boots. Oh my God, boots. We need a boots style intro.
We will have
From.
one. We will have one, definitely.
If anything fits boots, it's From.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
I'm working on one. I'm gonna have it done. Hopefully I can have it done within the next few weeks, but definitely long before season 4 gets here, I'll have our Boots From intro done for sure. His yellow shoe are actually yellow flowers, maybe. It was scary he came out in the day. I wonder how tied to the music he is, or if it was a coincidence that he appeared after the song played. Now, that's another very big discussion that a lot of us have been having as well. Was it Jade's music that summoned him, or did he come? Was it just coincidence? I definitely, I mean, it's hard to know for sure, but part of me definitely feels like the music had something to do with it. I mean, they hyped this whole song up. It was so hard for them to even figure it out that this was music that they were trying to decipher. And then when they figure it out, they even made it, that much more ominous by having them go out to the woods before they played it. They didn't even want to play it in town in case something bad happened, which something did. Now, I guess now I'm, thinking they're probably going to wish they did play it in town. Yeah, part of me wonders that as well. I lean a little bit more towards the music being what summoned him, just considering the first thing he says when he shows up is that Jade can sure play. That Jade sure can play is his first line. So is it a coincidence that he just happened to appear right after Jade played this very super specific hidden song? I don't know. I tend to think the song is the reason he showed up. But what about you guys in the chat? And what about you as well, PM? Do you think the song summoned him? Did he hear the song and then come? Or is it just coincidence that he happened to come right after Jade played?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both.
Mhm.
Meaning, I don't think that playing the song necessarily summoned him. He appeared because the song was played.
Yeah.
No, but he did appear because they played the song, meaning we know
Yes.
that Miranda and Christopher didn't make it this far. They didn't make it far enough to the point where they remember that they were reincarnated parents and that one of the Nkoi children was their child. They did
Mhm.
not make it that far. Miranda died when she was trying to go through the tree, and Christopher went mad. He just started apparently hurting people because Miranda tells Victor and Eloise hide from him. So that lets me know he was not up to anything good. They didn't
Mhm.
make it that far.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's not that he was summoned by the music, it's the fact that once they unlocked that memory and they realize who they were, he realizes that they have made it that far. They're
Mm.
not supposed to.
Mhm.
Something tells me that his whole job is to keep them from remembering. He did tell Jim, go and tell your wife to not be digging holes.
Yep.
Knowledge comes with a cost. They got knowledge, and the cost was now he's going to go and enforce what will happen next. They can't advance, basically. So that's more of what I'm thinking. It's not necessarily that the song summoned him, but
Mm.
they made it far enough that now they are a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Icarus in a sense. They're flying a little too close to the sun. They're getting a little too close to solving this thing. Yeah, like you mentioned, Miranda. From what we know, anyway, it doesn't seem like Miranda ever figured out that she was a reincarnation. All we ever hear is that Miranda saw past people that were trying to save the children, but it never mentioned anything about reincarnation or anything like that. So as far as we know, Miranda didn't get as far as Tabitha. So yeah, I mean, did the music like actually like summon him like physically, like the music, like maybe he was bound to something and the music kind of freed him, is another theory I've been hearing, which is an interesting one. I mean, maybe he has been trapped somewhere for so long. Maybe that's why he's so disheveled now compared to his earlier version. Maybe he was trapped somewhere and the music literally freed him from his prison. Or like you said, maybe the music didn't summon him so much, but maybe he heard the music and that was an indication that Jade and Tabitha are getting way too far. So he had to step in. So maybe the music didn't have any like actual control over him in terms of summoning him, but maybe him hearing the music was an indication that they're getting too far. And then he came. So I could see it going either way, to be honest. But that was always something I've wondered as well, and I know a lot of people have also wondered: did the music actually summon him, or did he hear the music and decide to come, or was it just coincidence that he just sensed Jade and Tabitha were getting a little too far, and he just happened to come right then? Hard to know for sure, but yeah, let us know what you guys think. I think Jade summoned him with the violin. Maybe, maybe. Again, it's possible. It's very possible. There's so much we don't know about this man in yellow and about who he is, what he wants. But who knows? Very, very possible. Did the original Jade write the original piece of music and he's always been a musician? I've wondered that too, Justin, and part of me seems to think yes. Was he always a musician in every reincarnation? No, but I think he was always at least some kind of entertainer, or at least had some kind of theatrical skill in every reincarnation. Like Christopher had the puppets, he was the puppet master. But yeah, part of me definitely thinks that the original Jade was the one who wrote that music originally. And that's why when the current Jade was getting so close to kind of solving it, all of a sudden it's like he could hear it in his head. He kind of just all of a sudden kind of knew what to play. Like he was familiar with it after he found out it was music notes, thanks to Jim. It's almost like he could kind of start hearing it in his head, I believe he mentioned. So that leads me to believe that, yes, maybe the original Jade, the first one, was the one who originally wrote this piece of music. Why? I don't know. But I do tend to think the original Jade wrote it, yes. What about you? You think the original incarnation of Jade wrote this song to begin with? Was he the one who left this hidden message for his future incarnations?
Hmm. I think if not the original, right? So the original parent, if not him, then one of the many reincarnations. Because we
Okay.
know that what they have in common is that that was Miranda violin that Jade was playing. So
Yeah.
it seems to be that once you reincarnate, some of those skills are transferred over. So maybe all of these reincarnations have somebody that can play the violin very well. And that's what they have in common, apart from being reincarnation of the original parent. So one of them, I always thought that it wasn't the original, that it was somebody who got far enough along the way that they figured out the memory and then tried to leave behind clues, knowing that the cycle would repeat again. It tells me that somebody figured out I'm probably not going to be the one to get out of here, but I need to leave something behind for the next person.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Part of me does wonder if not the original, maybe some other reincarnation of Jade left it as a clue, hoping that future reincarnations of himself would find it, figure it out, and they'd be able to maybe break the cycle where the previous ones couldn't, kind of thing. Little Easter egg that the one of the Jades maybe left. I could definitely see that being the case for sure. For sure. Yeah, Mannion looks a bit homeless. No, yeah, he does. He looks like a homeless, disheveled mess. Complete homeless, disheveled mess. And again, hearing from the creator of the show, John Griffin, that was kind of the point, at least aesthetically, for the character. He talks about that story of him seeing some man in yellow dressed in like a really clean, fresh suit. Then a year later, he sees the exact same man in that same yellow suit, only he's older and it's all disheveled. Like, this is something that the writer of the show actually says he encountered in LA. So yeah, he very much, it looks like he's been deteriorating. That's part, and that's what leads me to believe, or not believe, but it makes me wonder if the man in yellow was held in some sort of prison, in some sort of, if he was trapped somewhere and the music actually freed him. And that's why he's so disheveled. He's been rotting away, kind of locked away somewhere for Lord knows how long. And maybe that original piece of music was written to trap him, but maybe the way to free him is to play it again. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, he very much does look like a disheveled mess. Do you think the man in yellow suit is connected to the kimono lady? I don't personally, but as PM brought up earlier in the stream, there was a theory going around that someone believed that the man in yellow was the kimono lady's father, and something about what was it? Something about the hotel, I guess, had to do with the
Yeah.
hotel.
Well, the theory was that they lived in the motel. It's a
Okay.
motel. So, and he was her father, and they present in the same way, where she also is a little disheveled. So that was the theory. I found it to be interesting, but I don't see a connection as of yet. But going back to the topic of how he presents, of how he
Yes.
looks homeless,
Mhm.
this, I love this topic. This is my favorite topic because that is how all of this started for me. He reminded me of the king in yellow. The color
Yes. The
yellow
tatters.
is very interesting because the color yellow stands for decadence, right?
Yep.
So the most beautiful things, the most elaborate, fancy things, and also for decay. So things that have passed away, things that are dying, rotting. So it has two different meanings that are completely at the opposite of the spectrum. And the king in yellow, that's what he's the king of. He's this cosmic entity that is associated with decay, corruption, and dissolution. And that is what he presents as. If you look at him, his suit is, yellow, but it looks like it's seen better days. it's
Yeah.
it's worn, it's tattered.
Yeah.
You know that he's been through something. And if he was to be the leader of any sort of realm or in control of anything, you would assume that his realm presents the way that he does.
Mm.
Decay, falling apart. When you talk about the resolution of reality and sanity, that is what From is. And From, you have to wonder, am I actually sane, or is what I'm seeing a reality? That's why they don't communicate, because they're seeing things that are so strange that maybe they don't even want to believe it enough to tell another person, hey, I'm seeing a kimono lady who is choking me in the bathtub. So it's the realm of From. And
Yeah.
that's how I met Jeremy, because of the King in Yellow, because of the
Okay.
Ben in Yellow. So
Yeah.
my favorite topic.
Yeah, it's one of my. It's such a good topic. I never tire of talking about the whole King in Yellow, because again, it's the first thing that you and I saw. Like when we saw the Man in Yellow, we instantly thought the King in Yellow, because it's a novel that we're both very familiar with. Um, and yeah, I mean, the yellow suit, the tatters, and the very specific lines where knowledge comes at a cost, all very much invoking that kind of King in Yellow feel, for sure. But in terms of him being connected to the kimono creature, I'm not quite sure. I don't think there's any connection there personally. Like I don't think there's any familial connection there. Like as Boy in Yellow says in the chat, the kimono creature's Japanese. I mean, she seems to be like a Japanese kind of spirit. And the Man in Yellow clearly is not Japanese. So I mean, I know I don't know. I don't see a connection there between the Man in Yellow and the kimono creature. Maybe there is. Maybe I could be wrong. But I don't really see much of a connection between those two characters, apart from them both being some kind of monster in Fromville. Now we know the kimono creature at least has some kind of connection to the monsters. She was working with the monsters. Maybe there's a similar connection between the kimono creature and the Man in Yellow in that sense. But in terms of like a familial connection, I don't think so. No. Playing the song that caused the memories set the next stage of the game. The big bad plays. And maybe Jade playing that song was the signal to the Man in Yellow that it's time. It's his time to enter the fray. Now it's time for my arrival. They figured out the song. They're getting a little too close to learning everything. So now it's time for me to step in. It could have just been a signal for him to step in, and not so much a summoning kind of aspect. That's possible as well. Knowledge summoned the Man in Yellow, I think. Knowledge comes at a cost. Same way when Christopher got knowledge from the Boy in White that ended up in the massacre/reset. So season 4 could start with the reset. Yeah, a lot of people think another big massacre is going to be coming. And who knows, maybe getting a little too far in the game, learning a little bit too much knowledge, maybe that at least factors into what causes a reset. Because we have seen these cycles go over and over and over again. And yeah, we know the 1978 timeline ended in a giant massacre. So who's to say there isn't going to be another massacre coming around the corner now that they're getting super close to figuring things out as well? Because that is a good point that you bring up. It wasn't until Miranda and Christopher found out all of this information from the boy in white. The boy in white told them everything. And then right after that happened, boom, the massacre came. So yeah, is there a correlation there? Again, knowledge definitely seems to be a factor in it. The line "knowledge comes at a cost" is very, very telling, especially coming from the man in yellow. It seems like that is definitely playing a part in it. Not so much that it's just the song, but I think it is, like you guys mentioned, and like you mentioned as well, PM, Tabitha and Jade finding out a little bit too much, getting a little too close to solving the puzzle. And the man in yellow can't have that. So it could be just solely knowledge that summoned him. And maybe the song was just coincidence. Or again, the song was the signal to the man in yellow. He hears the song and knows, okay, they figured out the song. They're figuring out too much. Now it's time for me to step in. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Not a coincidence. Those pieces in the bottle were a way to trap the man in yellow, and only OG Tabby and OG Jade could unlock it. Each season, there's always a warning, like Kenny with Smiley's body. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Again, I like the idea of the song being something that potentially originally trapped the man in yellow, and this latest incarnation of Jade played it and unwittingly freed him. Maybe I kind of like that theory. I think it's interesting, and if nothing else, it might explain why he's so disheveled now. Like, was he locked up in some kind of purgatory? Was he held captive somewhere? Did someone or something, or one of the versions of Jade and Tabitha, or the original versions, did someone trap this thing somehow, and playing the song freed him? I think it's an interesting theory. I don't know how much it's going to play out that way, but I think it's at least an interesting theory that the song is tied to the man in yellow being freed. But again, you can't help but think about the knowledge aspect and how it seems like as soon as Tabitha and Jade figured out a little bit too much, then he showed up. And again, there's, in terms of the man in yellow being kind of held captive somewhere, there's kind of a lot of holes in that as well, because from what we know, the man in yellow has been watching everything they've been doing. So if he was some kind of captive somewhere, I have to imagine he wouldn't know everything that he knows. He was the voice on the phone at the end of season 1. So that indicates to us that the man in yellow has been watching all of them ever since they arrived. So him being a captive might have some holes in it. But yeah, in terms of the music, did it summon him, or was the music just a signal that he knew once he heard it, it was his time to step in? It's hard to know. But I think the knowledge was one of the main factors. Them finding out just a little bit too much. All right. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Scrolling down, maybe the man in yellow works with a big bad spider, like the Mind Flayer. Like the Mind Flayer Stranger Things scenario, maybe. I won't give up on Spidergate. Yeah, I mean, the whole Spidergate thing was pretty interesting. I remember when Panda Nikki first spotted something. I believe it was in the season premiere of season 2, something in the back corner in the woods when Boyd was right after Boyd escaped from Martin. So it must have been episode 2 or episode 3 in season 2. We see something in the back corner moving, and a lot of people think it might have been a giant spider leg. I tend to think it was just a camera swing arm and that happened to kind of make it into frame that they didn't catch. But who knows? Who knows what it really was? Maybe Spidergate is, until proven otherwise, Spidergate is at least still a thing as far as I'm concerned. But we shall see. We shall see. Let's see what else we got. Kenny and Boyd share those exact words. Miranda was the dangerous one. She was only waiting for Christopher to remember, and unfortunately, he refused to remember anything, and his death was checkmate for the boy in white this time. I mean, yeah, we get that little interesting flashback in season 3 showing that apparently the boy in white wasn't giving Miranda this information. He was giving it to Christopher. He was trying to tell Christopher. Apparently Christopher was the one who was supposed to go save the children, not Miranda. It was supposed to be Christopher. But of course, Christopher wasn't believing anything the boy in white said. But luckily, young Victor overheard everything that was said, and he runs back and tells his mother, and Miranda figured everything out. And she goes to try and save the children herself. But we know she tragically meets her end. And maybe that's because she wasn't originally supposed to do it. Maybe that's because Christopher was supposed to take on that task. Otherwise, why didn't the boy in white tell Miranda? Why did he tell Christopher and not her? Clearly, Christopher was meant to go through the faraway tree to go rescue the children, but he just wasn't believing the boy in white. So Miranda did it herself, or at least tried to do it herself. But it at least seems like that was a job that was meant for Christopher. But who knows?
It makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense because so in that reincarnation cycle, Jade, who plays the violin, was represented by Miranda. She's the one that played the violin. So that was Miranda's place in the
Maybe.
reincarnation cycle, was to play the violin, figure out the notes, and Tabitha's place was Christopher's place.
Yeah.
He doesn't play the violin. He goes, he saves the children, goes
Well.
through the tree, looks for information. So perhaps the reincarnation cycle doesn't depend on gender. You're just going to be reincarnated and have different skills. And whoever doesn't play the violin is the one that's going to have the other skills and the other task of going into the tree and saving the children. Whoever plays the violin will then be tasked with figuring out the song.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's a little role reversal depending on what incarnation it is, because that is a good point. The violin did belong to Miranda, so maybe she was the one that was meant to play the song, and Christopher was the one that was meant to go through the tree. That's actually a very good point. I could very well see that being the case. Absolutely, good stuff. Watching the last season with y'all felt like a fever dream. Will we do a rewatch party leading up to the new season? Absolutely. You know very well we will definitely be doing a rewatch. And probably even a little bit before the season gets here. We've been talking about it a little bit here and there, but at some point we are going to start up a complete from rewatch party where we rewatch season 1, 2, and 3. But when we do get a little bit closer to season 4 actually starting, yes, we'll definitely do another rewatch right around then, and we'll at least rewatch season 3 before season 4 starts. But we'll do a full rewatch probably between then and now too as well, because it's been forever. I mean, it's genuinely, I don't think I've gone this long ever without rewatching from either here on the channel with everybody or just on my own spare time. I always kind of go back to the show and do a little rewatch of my own every once in a while, but I haven't rewatched any From episodes in a long time. It's been a while for me, so I'm definitely due for a rewatch.
And for sure. And there's a group of us on Discord who will write on there like, oh, I'm on season 1, episode 8. So a lot of us are independently watching or rewatching From. I am. I'm doing it by myself. So of course, Panda Nikki, we need to start doing a rewatch party together. Those were amazing. So much fun. I miss all of you guys. And regarding the spider, I do see that there is a theory regarding the spider on your Discord, and I know we're gonna go in there to see some theories regarding the man in yellow. But if you have any other theories, also write them down on the Discord under tinfoil.
Yep. Yeah, right under the tinfoil hat theory channel. That channel is solely made just for From theories. Big, small, everything is welcome. And we love doing streams every once in a while where we go and look at the tinfoil section and pull out some theories and discuss them, which is what we've been doing on our last few streams. And of course, which is what we're going to do tonight as well. There were a few pretty good theories that were left, and we're going to pull those up here in a little bit and see what we can see. But of course, we always want to hear you guys' theories in the live chat as well as the night goes on. So keep the Man in Yellow theories coming. We want to know, what do you think about the Man in Yellow? Who is he? What is he? What role is he going to play? And how much of him are we going to see in season 4? That's one thing I'm a little bit worried about. Part of me does genuinely worry that we're not going to see a whole lot of the Man in Yellow until the end of season 4. But I hope that's not the case. I think the Man in Yellow is exploiting this place for personal gain, or he's serving something larger than himself, says Samuel. Yeah, I mean, I like the potential idea that he is maybe serving the like main force that is in control of Fromville, God, deity, entity, whatever you want to call it, the main force that is in control of actual Fromville. Because again, we know that this place has some kind of sentience. It sends storms to Colony House when they start building radio towers. It physically can manifest things, this forest, and it can screw with you. So clearly something is in control of it. Some kind of force is in control of this forest of Fromville. Is that the Man in Yellow? Is he in control of everything? Or is he just serving who is in control of everything? Again, I could definitely see him being an enforcer type of character where he serves the main force of Fromville. And again, he's the boots on the ground that gets his hand dirty whenever Fromville doesn't want someone learning too much about this or that or trying to escape. The Man in Yellow could very well be the enforcer for the main overall force, maybe. Who knows? But I like the idea that he's exploiting it for personal gain as well, because something that is corporeal must have at least made this original deal with the original parents. We get that line from Fatima where she says it told them they would live forever. So something or someone brought this deal to the parents originally and convinced them to sacrifice their own children for immortality. That deal came from someone or something. And could that potentially have been the Man in Yellow? Did the Man in Yellow exploit the parents to sacrifice their children, thinking that they would get immortality? Was it just one giant manipulation so he could use the power of that sacrifice for himself or for something else? I don't know, but I could very well see him being the one who manipulated that whole deal. Absolutely.
I like the idea, but the way that he's looking, it makes me think it's not going well for him. Whatever
Something's
he's
wrong.
manipulating, whatever personal gain is not really serving him. He used to look better. He used to present as a younger man, and he presented in a better way. Now he looks, worn out.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that he's doing, it's not going well for him.
It's not going well. And part of me wonders is that because Fromville is changing now? Is something changing in Fromville that is making his power wane in some way? Is he losing some of his power as Fromville changes? Because we're seeing as Fromville starts to change, the boy in white is changing as well. He, out of nowhere, he's aging. For the first time maybe ever, the boy in white himself is starting to age. And when Victor asks him why that is, all we get is everything is changing. So clearly something about Fromville is fundamentally changing. And of course, I think that was represented in season 3 with the winter that we got, seemingly the first winter that we've seen in Fromville maybe ever, or at least in a very long time. So something's changing here. The very nature of this place is literally changing. And could that factor into the Man in Yellow starting to become a little bit weaker, a little bit more disheveled, not the kind of younger, dapper version of himself that we saw in the original painting? I don't know. But like you said, something happened. Something clearly happened where he has been through some kind of ordeal where he is not the same younger iteration of himself that we originally meet in the painting. Something clearly happening or is happening to him. And hopefully we find out what that is. Hopefully we find out what that is. Good stuff. That's why the Man in Yellow spoke the way he did on the radio, that he shouldn't let Tabitha dig that hole. If she remembers, he's going to kill Jim. Jim doesn't know this. And that's been debated for a little while as well. And I think it's an interesting discussion. Was the Man in Yellow genuinely trying to warn Jim over the phone at the end of season 1? Like, was he genuinely trying to warn Jim to get Tabitha to stop digging? Or was it a little bit more malicious? Was it a little bit more of a malevolent kind of, your wife shouldn't be digging that hole, Jim? Or was he genuinely trying to get her to stop because he knew he would have to kill her if she continued? That's an interesting debate. Like, did he actually, maybe he didn't want to kill Jim. Was he actually trying to really stop Tabitha because he didn't want to kill Jim? Or was it a little more sinister? I don't know.
Hmm. I like that idea, Patrick Ragland. And it makes you wonder, right? Why kill Jim? Go after Tabitha. Why did you not just go after Tabitha and Jade? Why not kill Tabitha? She's the one that was digging the hole. She's the one that got them this
Yep.
far and is looking for knowledge. And she's the one that gained this knowledge. Sure, Jim, at the end of this, he also knew, but he knew because Tabitha told him. It makes me think that there's rules and regulations where he's not able to hurt Tabitha, so he can hurt her by hurting the people that he love that Tabitha loves, right?
Ah,
Kind of like with Boyd. They hurt him by hurting the people he loves because they
yes,
can't touch him. Um,
maybe.
and I do see that you have a super chat talking about the rebirth of Smiley,
Mm,
and that it seems like the people have found ways of deleting the monsters and they just keep coming back. All
yeah.
of this is giving rules and regulations. For some reason, it all seems like there is a plan in place that when something happens, another thing has to follow
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah.
A game of sorts. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people in the chat and the fandom have at this point deducted that there is a game being played. There's
Mhm.
teams and a game, rules, regulations. The monsters themselves kind of hint at rules of the talismans and how they work and how they don't work, right? When the
Yeah.
lady tells Randall that's not how it works, sweetie. So that tells us there's rules. They're following a script, a rule, a guideline. And from downtown, I totally agree. When Smiley was being born, there was people in the family that did research on the kimono lady, and they figured out that the kimono that she was wearing was a style of kimono that is worn by the people who assist in the delivery of children. And so that tells me there's a whole process, a ceremony to them being born. It's happened before, it will happen in the future. And it happens so much that they have an assigned person, a very specific
Mm,
assigned person to the
yeah.
whole rebirth. And it brings me to the last question about Smiley's rebirth, the outfits. People in the chat were
Mhm.
talking about the outfit. If they're reborn, what is he gonna wear?
What's
Does
he
he
gonna
get a
wear?
1950s style outfit or does he get a 2024 style
Mm,
outfit? Right?
good
Because they're
point.
not matching the time period. How do they decide the clothing that he's given?
Good point. Good point. I mean, well, one thing we have seen from the monsters is they seem to take souvenirs. They seem to take human items and bring them down into the caves with them. We see TVs down there, old grandfather clocks, dressers. Miranda's sweater was down there. So maybe there's clothing down there. Who knows? Maybe there's another 1950s style getup waiting for Smiley in the cave somewhere after he cleans all the blood off. Who knows? Not sure, but I feel like you gotta put Smiley in that 1950s attire. I feel like you have to. I feel like it's such a big part of the character was how he was dressed. I don't think Smiley would be anywhere near as intimidating if he had like current clothes on. You're like I imagine him coming out of that cave with like a Nike shirt and some Jordans on or something. Like it would not be anywhere near as intimidating, as frightening if he had just modern clothes on. So I feel like they have to put him back in the kind of 50s style garb. And I'm hoping that maybe they just have some clothes lying around in that cave where they can he can throw his sweater right back on. I'm hoping. Because I think he would just look weird in anything that isn't 50s, 60s level attire.
Yeah. But then again, it's the question, why 1950s?
Mm.
Why 1950s out of all of the time period? Why are they stuck during that time? If there has been massacres and resets, why are they not resetting with the time and wearing 1970s clothes?
Hmm. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
something to that.
Yeah, how come they haven't evolved with the times? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That is a good question. Um, but yeah, as you know, from downtown mentions, yeah, positive that Smiley isn't the only one who's been reborn, and if that's the case, then people have been finding ways to delete the monsters. They just keep coming back, and that's another real problem that they're going to have to deal with in season 4 because it seemed like Boyd was trying so hard to try and trap a monster in season 3. But with all of this information now, it's almost like they really can't kill a monster, because if they do, it might just come back again. Maybe these monsters do get reborn. Every time one of them gets taken out, it just gets reborn again. Maybe that is the life cycle of these monsters. So now they have to be careful. Now, they can't just go full on the offensive and just try and take out a bunch of monsters, because it could just result in all of the women in Fromville getting pregnant like Fatima did and just birthing a ton of fucking monsters. So they got to find a way to, I like how you say delete. They need to find a way to delete these monsters in a manner where they don't come back, where they don't get reborn. Because I tend to agree.
Yeah, and then why does it have to be the woman, right? I'm thinking,
Oh, sorry, I
could
was
it
on mute.
potentially, yeah, you were on mute. Could it potentially be that the men also have to
Also
carry
get
a
pregnant.
egg?
Oof.
Because apparently having a uterus is not really that important. Fatima said that she was 100% sure that she could not conceive. It was just not possible. When people did the research, they deducted that it would be something to do with her uterus, and yet she still gave birth to the pod. So I think it would be more interesting if maybe everybody in From becomes pregnant if you start to delete monsters, and that would make it even more terrifying. A man with the pregnancy of a pod giving birth to one of the monsters, right? To add more terror to an already very terrifying town, right?
Yeesh. Eesh, eesh, eesh. I mean, who knows? I mean, I suppose anything. I feel like anything's possible on this freaking show. But that would be, quite the sight if we started seeing not just women but guys starting to get pregnant with these freaking monster pods. Like, fuck me, where are we heading now? Who knows? But I suppose anything's possible. But I do think that they need to find some kind of other method of going on the offensive, because even if it seems like, anyway, even if they do find a way to kill one of these monsters, it might just end up coming back and being reborn, like we saw with Smiley. I tend to think that this isn't something that is unique to Smiley and only Smiley. Had Boyd had killed a different monster, we'd see that other monster get reborn. I do tend to think that is the life cycle of these things, where they get killed, they get brought back. And I think that's part of the immortality part that they did this whole deal for. They made this deal for immortality, only it seems like the immortality they got probably wasn't the immortality they thought they were going to get. It seems more of a curse than a gift. But if they are cursed to be immortal and to always be these monsters, then yeah, death is something that is always going to elude them. It's always going to be something that is just outside their reach, because they are cursed to be these things forever. So you can't just kill one. They're always going to come back because the curse is active. So if there is some kind of curse, maybe that's something they need to break before they can start killing these monsters. But yeah, they're going to keep coming back. I think they will always keep coming back, no matter who it is. I don't think it's just a Smiley thing. I think that's true for all of the monsters. But thank you so much from downtown for the 10. And thank you so much, Robert Saunders, for the 10. Very much appreciated, my friend. Several weeks ago, MGM posted a casting call for an olive-skinned 12-year-old boy who plays violin. Ooh. We saw Tabby Prime as a child, and I suspect we will see Jade Prime as a child via story walking. Interesting, Robert. I missed that. I didn't see that casting call. But that's very interesting. If they're looking for an olive-skinned 12-year-old who plays the violin, I mean, yeah, right? That's got to be young Jade. It's got to be. Like you mentioned, we saw the young version of Tabitha in season 3. Why wouldn't they show us a younger version of Jade? Or maybe Prime Jade, as you mentioned, maybe the original Jade. So that's interesting. Yeah, maybe we'll get a flashback scene, or it could be via story walking. Maybe Julie will end up seeing this, or maybe it'll be a flashback scene similar to how Tabitha had a flashback vision. Maybe Jade will have a vision of his original self as a kid. I could very much seeing that be the case, because I feel like that's one thing they have to cover in season 4. are Jade and Tabitha's really origins. Now, the Man in Yellow, I wouldn't be too surprised if they kind of hold the Man in Yellow back until the end of the season. But one thing they do need to answer, hopefully sooner rather than later, is the truth about Jade and Tabitha, the real, the first iterations of them, what happened, the sacrifice, how it came to be. That's stuff that I'm really hoping we get all of the answers to in season 4, and that doesn't carry over to season 5. I'm hoping anyway. I mean, who knows? You never know with From. But yeah, I'm hoping that's something that we're going to get a good, healthy dose of, finding a little bit more about the original Jade and the original Tabitha. And I think, learning that via a flashback or via Julie story walking would be a perfect kind of method of delivery to give us that information.
Yeah, and it makes me think that it must be very important to the story, because I know that the creators have been hesitant of going into the background of the characters before they got to From, saying it's not going to be about the background. It's about when they're actually in town. So if we're going to see anything about their childhood, it must be because it has something to do with story walking. That's what I'm thinking. We know for a fact just a couple of things about Jade. He said that he grew up in France and then moved when he was around 12 years old to the United States because his parent passed away.
Yep.
And we know that somebody approached them and said that iconic "they come with you when you go" line.
Yes.
So those are two things that we know about him. If they're casting an olive-skinned 12-year-old boy who plays the violin, it makes me think maybe we're going to see who told him that. We're going to see him traveling to the US, and we're going to see a lot of people have been saying, I think maybe it was Robert Saunders actually, who said it was potentially Julie who tells him they come with you when you go. But how would she know that? She was not in the room when that line was said.
Yeah, true. Good point. I love that kind of idea in theory, but like you said, there's a huge hole in that. Julie shouldn't know that line. She wasn't present for that. Unless by somehow she managed to story walk to that moment and then story walked back to when he was a kid, which is a little bit weird. Why would she story walk back to the moment between Tien Chen and Jade? So that's an interesting one. But yeah, I'm not so sure if I like the idea of Julie being the one who said that, but a little bit of big hole there for sure. But yeah, I mean, maybe this 12-year-old Jade is going to be this Jade, this version of Jade that we're currently with. Maybe we're going to see him when he was younger. It might not be the original version of Jade. It might be this reincarnation of Jade when he was a kid. I could see that being possible too. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But again, season 4 has got a lot to cover. If they really are only doing 2 more seasons, which it seems like that's kind of what they're aiming for, just 5, they still got a lot of loose ends to tie up and not a whole lot of time to do it. And that's why I really hope they don't draw too much of this stuff out at the beginning of season 4. I really hope by the time we get like midway through season 4, we already have a few kind of decent answers, because they have a lot. There is so much that they need to get through, that they need to resolve, so many storylines that need their kind of conclusion. And they only have 20 episodes left to do it all. That's it. So I hope they don't draw these things out too much. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see. But thank you so much from Downtown 296. And thank you so much, Robert Saunders, for the $10 super chats. And I owe you a whoa. Whoa. I'll be low-key disappointed if we don't get a spider. You will see my icon. Yeah, a lot of people really want the spider. You're not alone. You are not alone, Ty. A lot of people really, really want the giant spider. There is a spider at the Lake of Tears drawing, and the one I just mentioned. Yeah, maybe, again, the spider thing has been a really popular theory for a very, very long time. You see all of the spider drawings in Victor's, the spiders in all of Victor's drawings and some in Eloise's drawings. There's been tons of references to spiders. We actually see spiders at one point when Boyd gets bit. So yeah, a lot of people are very much hoping that we're going to get some kind of giant spider action. I don't know. At this point, I kind of hope we don't. Personally, I mean, I love one thing I love about From is how yes, it has some aspects that are kind of supernatural and even borderline on fantasy sometimes with the talismans and curses and entities and all of that. But for the most part, they've kept it grounded as something like this can be. When you're getting into these kind of supernatural topics, yeah, some things are going to be a little kind of, hectic. But for the most part, they've kept the supernatural angle of the show pretty grounded and pretty believable. But I feel like if they start throwing in giant spiders and all this, that's why I really didn't want the talking puppet to be a thing. I was so relieved when we didn't get a talking puppet because that really worried me. I'm thinking, all right, what kind of territory are we getting into now where we have talking puppets and giant spiders and all of that? It just seems a little too fantasy for me, where the show's been kind of grounded in its horror up until this point. So I was very relieved when we found out that there wasn't a talking puppet, that it was just Victor misremembering. But again, I might be in the minority here because I know a lot of people really do want the spider action. It's a very popular fan theory at this point that we're going to get some kind of big spider action. We'll see. We'll see. What about you, PM? Where do you land on the whole spider debate? And let us know what you guys think in the chat as well. Do you want to see a giant spider appear at some point in From, or is that something, or are you indifferent to it? It happens or it doesn't. What do you guys think?
I feel like I have been persuaded. Panda Nikki has this enthusiasm about the spider. Okay,
very much so.
She is leading the cause on the Spidergate thing, and it is so enthusiastic that it makes me want to root for her. And I understand the hesitation, thinking, there's hesitation that if it's a giant spider and the CGI is not good enough, it's going to be, it's going to take us out of the scene. It's kind of going to ruin
That's what worries me.
the episode,
Yeah.
because it's not going to be good enough. It's going to be the Cinemorph man in a pleather outfit and big boots sort of redo. So I know the hesitation, right? But I think that they could do it. Just make it super dark. From is dark. Do it at night. Give us a giant spider. I want a spider. I feel like promises have been made at this point. Promises made, promises kept. Boyd's wife, one of the characters that everybody wants to know more about because she appears as a ghost, was encased in a giant spider web. That was a promise there. You made a promise that there is a big spider big enough to encase her in a web. So now we need to see it. We need to see that spider. I'm Team Spider all the way.
Team Spider or Team No Spider? That is the question tonight, ladies and gents. Yeah, I mean, and Nikki does bring up a pretty good point. Fuck it. We had Smiley reborn. Let's go balls to the wall and have some fuck you size spiders. I mean, you make a point. They are already. I mean, up until the Smiley rebirth, the horror was pretty grounded. But now, yeah, I mean, they got fucking Smiley reborn. So now they're getting into that territory that I was kind of hoping the show would avoid. So who knows? Who knows? But if they do a giant spider, I'm with you, PM. The CGI needs to be on point. It needs to be a very kind of a nighttime scene, a very low lit scene in the woods where you maybe kind of just barely see it, but you don't see it all the way, completely. And of course, the CGI really needs to be good. Or yeah, a giant spider could just really take people right out of the story, I think. But who knows? We'll see. Sherry Ann's got no interest in the giant spider unless it is central to the plot somehow. And that's obviously another part of it. If they are going to put some kind of giant spider in the story, it needs to have a narrative purpose. You can't just throw it in there just to have a cool monster in the show. That I would be disappointed about. But if it served the plot, if it narratively made sense, I would not mind that at all. And if the CGI was good. But we'll see. We shall see. No spiders, says Howdy. We know Nikki definitely wants a spider. Robert says hashtag spider. Kind of split. Yes, spiders and a dragon, more monsters. They have the Russo brothers budget. I mean, there are people out there that do think we're going to see a dragon at some point. Like that is out there. We got the lonely dragon. There's some drawings. There's that one drawing of that dragon-like creature. So who knows? And thank you so much, Justin White, who has just gifted 10 memberships. Holy cow. 1, 2, 3, 10 memberships gifted from our pal, Justin White. That is incredibly generous of you, my friend. Thank you so much. Wow. Hold up. Let's see. Looks like PM is now a member. Robert Saunders is now a member. Football Infinity is now a member. Panda Nikki is now a member. Susan is now a member. Just Lurking is now a member. DA Stellar Napster is now a member. Cool Nerd is now a member. Debbie is now a member. Wow. Holy cow. And Laura Butler is also now a member. Welcome one. Welcome all. Be sure to spam as much as you want with the custom Fromville emojis we have available for all channel members. And thank you so much, Justin. Very much appreciate that, my friend. That was incredibly generous of you. And I definitely owe you a whoa. I feel like a glitter bomb is in order for that one too. Storm some glitter as well. Thank you so much, Justin. That's very, very appreciative. Very much appreciate that. It's very, very kind. Super kind of you. If you have a specific topic or a specific theory that you want us to discuss, by all means, throw it in the chat and we will definitely talk about it for sure. But yeah, it needs to be a big budget. Yeah, if they go that route, it's got to be some good CGI for sure. It's got to be good CGI. It makes me sad. It makes me sad we only get 2 more seasons, but I hope they end it well. I know. I really don't even like thinking about it. I mean, the idea that there's only 2 seasons left of From, or potentially, it seems like that might be the case. It seems like they're kind of aiming for 5 from what they've alluded to in the past. Yeah, that's a bit disappointing. I mean, what the hell are we going to do after From's over? I mean, yes, there's plenty of other great shows out there that we'll be covering that I'm sure we'll all like, but From is that like one show that's just like so fucking good. I never want From to end. And yeah, the idea that there's maybe only 2 seasons left, that fucking sucks. Like if anything deserves a spinoff after From is over, it's From. Like I really hope we get some kind of spinoff set in the world of From once From ends.
That is so sad, Elizabeth Jaramillo. You're making me sad now. I'm going to lose my will to live after From is done. It's not fair. I feel like, 6 seasons, right? They said, no, 5? Did they say 5 or 6?
I think they've alluded to around 5 from what I've seen. So
even worse.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
It's just not enough, especially when you consider, and I'm very upset at them, right? Love you for having From on. However, very upset at you because the budget that was spent on the Institute, you could have given that to From. Give that budget to From because From is so much better. And you could have made a couple more seasons instead of spending, so much money on the Institute, which was horrid.
I wasn't a big fan of it either. I tried. I gave it the old college try where the Institute was concerned, but it was too predictable. It was too predictable. You just knew exactly where that story was going at every given moment. There was no mystery to that show at all. It's like you knew exactly where it was going. At least it seemed that way and turned out to be that way. So yeah, I mean, I guess it really is up to John Griffin, I guess, at this point. Like MGM, the network, I imagine they would give From as many seasons as they want. I mean, MGM knows how much of a moneymaker this show is for their app, for their studio. So it's really just a matter of John Griffin. Like, how many seasons does he need to complete this story? Because I guess that's really the only question. If he feels he can wrap this entire thing up in just 5 seasons, looks like we're only going to get 5 seasons. If he needs a 6th or a 7th to actually get the story where it's supposed to go, that's another thing. But I imagine they would give this show as many seasons as it needed. but it seems like it only needs 5 seasons to tell the story they're trying to tell. And that sucks. Again, you definitely don't want to see a show get stretched past its expiration date. So if 5 seasons is all they need to tell the story properly and wrap everything up nice, then that's it. We're going to get 5 seasons. But at the very least, I hope we get some kind of spin-off show after From is over. If we really are only getting 5 seasons, or regardless of how many seasons we get of From, I hope we get some kind of intriguing spin-off that is close to as good as the original.
Yeah. And like Lily Del Valle is saying, our friend, you don't want a Game of Thrones situation. If
Exactly.
it has to end,
Exactly.
because it's going to be a great, amazing ending that we're all going to talk about for ages, and it has to end in 5 seasons, then let it be so. Don't
Yes.
let it go on and on and on, and then just destroy the character of Void and Jade and Tabitha and
Mhm.
just run the show into the ground. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll have it that way, and then we will just rewatch From for the rest of our lives, all 5 seasons. I could
And
do
pray
that.
for a
That's
spin-off.
fine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see a show there's nothing worse than seeing a show get stretched past its expiration date. Like I said, Game of Thrones is a really good example of a show that just, it got to the point where they were just throwing in filler because they didn't have the rest of the source material. George isn't finishing the books in time, so they had to kind of do their own thing, and it turned to a whole big mess. The Walking Dead, I think, is another show that was long past its expiration date. The Walking Dead started to get really, really bad towards those last 5, 6, 7 seasons or so. I mean, they did like 15 fucking seasons, 13 seasons or so, and like the last 5 or 6 of them were terrible, were awful television. Supernatural even had this problem where a lot of the later seasons of Supernatural started to just really, really be bad. The final season of Supernatural was good. It ended very good, but you look at the 6 seasons before the final season, they were all really, really tough to watch. So yeah, sometimes networks will just keep these shows around because they're making so much money. They just don't want them to end, and that can really dilute the story. So you definitely don't want to see that happen here with From. Not something like this that's been crafted so well, that's been executed so well up until this point. So yes, if 5 seasons is all they need to properly tell the story, I hope they get 5 seasons. If they need more than that to tell the story, then they'll get more than that, I'm sure. But it seems like right now 5 seems to be the what they're aiming for. So they must be confident they can tell the whole story in 5 seasons. We got Panda Nikki for $6.99. Thank you so much, Panda Nikki. Very much appreciate you as well. Short and sweet, keeps the story neat. Hashtag Daddy Jar. Well, thank you for that. I mean, it is kind of true. I mean, sometimes you don't want to stretch these things too much. Sometimes a shorter, more condensed story with a satisfying beginning, middle, and ending is just more satisfying. It's just better. You don't want to just get more seasons just for the sake of more seasons. It needs to make sense narratively. The story needs to drive how many seasons the show gets, basically. Thank you so much for the $6.99. I very much appreciate that. And I owe you, whoa. Thank you. Big thank you to everybody. Everybody who sent in super chats tonight. Super, super generous. Cannot thank you all enough. From spinoff, Smiley strikes again. Now, it's funny. It's a good joke, but part of me wouldn't be too opposed to a spinoff from the monster's point of view. I think that could be a very interesting aspect to explore, where we see the story through the survivor's POV, or even if it's something that they just do like a single episode through the monster's POV. I would love to see the story, the show through their eyes. Again, even if it's just a single episode or just a few scenes, even, I would love to see a POV from the monster standpoint. I think that could be very interesting.
I like that idea, Fletcher. And I totally agree with Panda Nikki. Keeping it short and perfect as it is the way to go. And like Fletcher said, he also had another comment, which I thought was great, where he said maybe a spin-off from the original colony. That would be
A
very
prequel,
interesting.
a prequel. Hell
Yeah,
yes.
the original colony and how everything came to be, where we could see the ritual, but we could see like in depth their life. I would
Yes.
really like that. And
Yeah.
I love seeing all of you guys in the chat again. And Panda Nikki, missed you so much. I love that she has this Daddy Jeremy thing because Jeremy gets so flustered about it. And she like loves calling him Daddy Jeremy. So I love seeing that back again in the chat.
Yeah. No, yeah, we love Panda Nikki. It's great seeing everybody. It really is. I love doing these from streams, and yeah, from season 4, it might be a little ways out, but that doesn't mean we still can't have some fun usually every Sunday night. I know it's Monday this week, but usually we'll be doing these every Sunday going forward, right up until season 4 gets here. At least that's the plan. I plan on doing at least one Fromville Hour stream a week until season 4 gets here. So every Sunday will be Fromville Hour Sunday until the next season gets here. I was just a little under the weather last night. That's why we're doing it on Monday this week. But yeah, it's always good to see the, kind of the original gang kind of back in the chat, because, From was one of the first shows that I really started like covering like super in depth here on the channel. Before I started covering From, this show was like solely A Song of Ice and Fire. I was pretty much only covering A Song of Ice and Fire stuff and House of the Dragon until I started branching out into other shows. And From was the first show that I started branching out into when I made that choice. And I'm so glad I did, looking back. Like, I'm so glad I didn't keep this channel just A Song of Ice and Fire channel. I love A Song of Ice and Fire. There will always be A Song of Ice and Fire content on the channel. But I'm so glad I started to kind of pivot into other stuff as well, because From as a show and the fandom and everybody that we've met in this fandom since this show has come around has been so freaking awesome. It's been so interesting. We've met some of the coolest people in the world here. And yeah, it's always cool to kind of get the original From gang back together. So I love doing these Sunday shows when we dive into all things From while we wait for season 4 to get here. Because it's probably my favorite show to cover. Out of all the shows that we cover, I have the most fun covering From. Let's see what else we got. I would love a spinoff that makes us hate all the people and empathize with the monsters / children, whatever. We tried to tell you, for fuck's sake, figure it out. LOL. See, there we go. Lily's, taking it right out of my head as well. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing, it'd be hard to kind of structure a whole show around that concept. But at the very least, I would love to at least see kind of like one episode where we get to see the story through the monsters' POV and see things from their perspective and how do they view the people in the town? How do they view things like talismans? Like, do they fear these things? Do they even have fear? I would love to see an episode, or even just a few scenes even through the POV of one of the monsters. I think that could be interesting. A good spin-off could be a prequel to when the first sacrifice happens. Yeah, again, like all of the events that lead up to the Onkui children's sacrifice. I feel like that could be an interesting prequel. The original, like as someone said in the chat earlier, a prequel of the original colony, the first cycle, how all of it began. Show all of the events that led up to the Onkui sacrifice, with the Onkui sacrifice being like the finale, the series finale. But finally, we get to see everything in much more detail that led up to it. Because I imagine we're going to get a lot of that answered in the main story. But there's always, they can always go deeper, especially only having 10 episodes. There's only so much that they can show us, of the original sacrifice. There's only so much they can show us, period, only having 10 episodes. So I imagine there's going to be plenty of meat left on that bone. By the time this main show ends, I imagine there's going to be plenty of stuff for them to go back that they could easily do some kind of prequel on. Easily, I would imagine. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. That would be very, very interesting. However, if the numbers in the Lighthouse are dates, that means there could be 9 prequels. Just a thought. Heck, how many Walking Dead shows are there? Hey, I mean, you have a point, Robert.
Mhm.
You have a point. yeah, I mean, yeah, The Walking Dead has done spin-off after spin-off after spin-off. I mean, you look at Game of Thrones, they're planning all these, spin-offs. Um, I would love it. I would love it if we got some kind of From spin-off after the main series ended. Absolutely would.
Mhm.
I didn't really see the Institute. I saw Untamed on Netflix, though. It's good. Season 2 coming. I haven't watched Untamed yet. I do have it on my queue. I am going to check it out at some point, but I haven't watched it yet. A lot of people have been talking about Dexter too. Dexter literally was great this year. I loved it, but they've messed up the end again. They've messed up the end. That's what I keep hearing. I mean, I didn't watch all of the original Dexter. I watched, I think, like the first 2 seasons, and then I couldn't finish season 3. It just started to feel repetitive to me. Like it's kind of the same thing every season. Dexter versus another serial killer. It felt a little repetitive to me, so I couldn't really get into it too much. Maybe I need to revisit it and give it another shot, because I know people were really enjoying this latest Dexter, but it sucks to hear that they messed up the ending again, because I hear that happened to the original Dexter, at least from a lot of the people that I've talked to who watched the original Dexter series. Apparently a lot of people really didn't like the ending to the original. So that sucks if they can't stick the landing not only once but twice. It's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But yeah, not super familiar with Dexter. Oh my God, I couldn't agree more with the Institute. Was terrible. My goodness. Thank you. Yes, give the budget From rant over. Sorry. No, totally fine. All opinions are welcome here, guys. We always want to know what you guys think. Yeah, I mean, I tried to get into the Institute. PM and I both tried to get into the Institute. We even did a few streams on it. I think I did a video on like episode 1 and 2, I believe, but I just couldn't get into it. It was a little too kind of surface level. There wasn't a lot there to chew on, to kind of dive into. And again, it was predictable. It was a very predictable show. I feel like at every turn, you knew exactly where the show was going. And sure as shit, that's exactly where it went. There was no like twists and turns or anything like that. It was a very straightforward, kind of predictable sci-fi show. And in my opinion, it's based off a book that is far from Stephen King's best work, in my opinion. Even the original book is not too great from what I've read about it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know some people liked it. I know some people really, really enjoyed the Institute, and that is totally cool. If you liked it, I am super glad for you. It just, for me personally, it just wasn't a show that I could get into. It was just a little too predictable, and I found myself watching it every week and just not caring about any of the characters. And that's one thing that will turn me off a show more than anything else. I can deal with a storyline and a plot line that's maybe not super great as long as the characters are good. But for me on the Institute, I just couldn't connect with any of those characters. I didn't feel invested in any of their storylines. The one character that I liked, that PM and I talked about, that we kind of really liked, was the one character that got killed off in the second episode. The homeless lady that had the telepathy. She was like one of the only interesting characters I found on that show. The rest of them, I just wasn't too interested in them. I wasn't invested in them. I didn't really want to learn more about them. The show just really, really had poor character development, just for me personally. But for everyone who liked the Institute, that is awesome. Not every show is for everybody, and that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm. But I do see that there's a positive here, because another show that Jeremy is doing live streams and videos on, Alien Earth. I do see that people are talking in the chat. They have great ideas. You guys need to start writing for From. They want a Smiley and Theo Celis spinoff of both of them together, our favorite little monsters, which I'm so glad to see that the From people are getting into Alien Earth, and they're also feeling Theo Celis. They're rooting for our girl Theo Celis. They called it a she. So Panda Nikki even named her Iris. I really like that. And apparently with the Theo Celis, we're not really, as of right now, we don't know if she's on the human side. So that's still a mystery. that is yet to evolve until we need to find out, what does Teocellus actually want? Is she trying
Yeah.
to help the humans, or does she have more nefarious reasoning as to why she was attempting, quote unquote, to help? But I think
Mm.
that's a great idea. Wall Santek. I would watch that show for sure.
I'd watch it. I mean, as I'd watch it. I've seen weirder things. I've seen weirder genres mixed that ended up being really good. I mean, two genres that I thought would never work together ended up being one of my favorite shows of all time, and that's Kingdom on Netflix, where they merged the zombie genre with feudal Korea. Two genres I never thought would ever work together, but anyone who has seen Kingdom, boy, do they work together. It's one of the best maybe the best zombie show I've ever seen in my life. Kingdom's really good. But yeah, the Smiley Ocellus show in 2028. Sign me up for it, Wall St. Tech. I will be there. I would be watching it, and I will cover every single episode of it diligently. Absolutely. Love the last Alien episode. It was good. The most recent Alien episode, last week's, was incredibly good. It gave us the answers we all wanted, and it didn't even feel like an episode of television. It felt more like a mini film, a small little mini movie. It had a perfectly well structured beginning, middle, and satisfying ending. That last episode was probably my favorite of the season so far. But we got another one coming pretty soon. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, episode 6 of Alien Earth will be here, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have not seen my episode 6 preview breakdown yet, definitely check it out. There's some really interesting things in my latest prediction video that I think are coming up on Alien Earth that I cannot wait to see. But yeah, Pennywise is coming pretty soon. Very much. We will definitely be covering Return to Derry. Welcome to Derry, excuse me. Huge Pennywise fan. I love Pennywise. I love all of the lore behind the character, all of the, everything that Stephen King put into that story. That's some of his best work. The Institute is far from his best work, but it is probably some of his best work that he's ever done, along with the Dark Tower series. I cannot wait for Pennywise to come back. Welcome to Derry. Based on the trailers that they've released, it looks pretty interesting. It looks like it's kind of that same quality of the recent It films that we've gotten, which is great because the director of the It films is also working on this It TV series. And of course, we have Bill Skarsgård returning as Pennywise himself, who played such a good Pennywise. From what I could tell, just about everybody that I've talked to loved Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. He was so freaking good in that role. And I love the fact that they got him back for this TV series, that it's actually Bill that's going to be playing Pennywise, and they didn't have to recast. Love that. And yeah, we'll be covering every episode. We will be covering every single episode of It Welcome to Derry when it finally drops. And we'll probably do some Stranger Things stuff as well. Stranger Things, Netflix shows in general are a little tougher to kind of cover for, from the YouTube standpoint, because it doesn't come out episodically. It's not one episode a week. So, when these shows kind of drop all these episodes at once, or drop a big handful of the episodes all at once, you tend to have the fandom never on the same page. You'll have some people who have seen one episode, you'll have some people who have seen 2 episodes, and then you'll have some people who will binge through all of it in a single day. And I feel like it really hampers the discussion, because then you have some people that are watching it a little bit slower, not partaking in the discussions because they don't want spoilers. It's not a good format for YouTube at the very least. I really wish Netflix would realize that, would learn that, and at least for their bigger, more popular shows that they know are going to be pretty good, that they know are going to do well, I wish they would start releasing these things weekly. This episode dump that they do is it's not very conducive to a community like this, like From, where it's every single week, it's a new episode. That way you have the entire fandom watching the same episode at the same time every single week, and everybody's talking about the same episode every single week. Whereas shows that drop all their episodes at once, it's scattered, it's all over the place, and it doesn't stay in the public zeitgeist anywhere near as long. You know, when you are dropping 8 to 10 episode seasons and you're doing it weekly, that's 8 to 10 weeks of nonstop conversation around that show. All of that is free marketing for these networks and for these shows. But when you drop all the episodes at once, people talk about it for, you know, a few weeks, maybe a month at most, and then the discussion's over. It's done. It's gone. It's completely out of the public zeitgeist a month later. So I really wish Netflix would start releasing some of their bigger titles weekly, because this episode dump thing, it's so hard to cover shows like that from the YouTube standpoint. But I'm definitely going to at least do something on Stranger Things when it drops, the final season, because I love that show. And I'll at least do something. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, or if I'm going to just watch all the episodes and just do one season breakdown. Not quite sure how I'm going to handle it, but we'll at least be doing something on Stranger Things.
I mean, I'm horrified just thinking that this is the last season of Stranger Things, because it's almost a decade ago that Stranger Things like first started. A decade, almost a decade.
Right.
That makes me feel so old. I hate, like looking at the time, and it feels like, yeah, there's so much time in between. All the children are grown-ups already. They all really, in real life, they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
They're full-on grown-ups now. So
yeah, they're getting ready to crack their first beer at the bar. I mean, they got them running around on their bikes like they're middle school kids still. It looks, and this is always the problem when you hire child actors to be the core cast of your show. They're gonna age out eventually. These kind of shows, it just happens. But I do like Stranger Things. I think season 4 was a return to form for the show. Love season 1. Season 1 will probably always be the best season of Stranger Things. Season 2 and season 3 were a bit of a drop off in quality. Just for me personally, I don't think season 2 and 3 were anywhere near as good as 1. But season 4 was good. Season 4 felt like, okay, Stranger Things is fucking back now. So they have some decent momentum heading into the 5th season. But then again, as you mentioned, it's been 10 freaking years. 10 years to do 5 seasons of television. That is absolutely insane. Stranger Things has been off air for so long. Luckily, it's got a huge fandom, so they'll probably be able to pick up that momentum right where they left off. But yeah, I mean, it's so crazy how long it takes these shows to get developed these days. Absolutely insane. But we'll definitely be doing something on Stranger Things, and definitely going to be covering It Welcome to Derry. It Welcome to Derry is the next show I'm looking forward to the most. After Alien Earth is done and after Foundation is done, which so bummed that we only have 1 episode of Foundation left. I can't believe that this is our last episode of Foundation this week in just a few days, and then that's over too. But after Foundation is over, after Alien Earth is over, we're definitely going to be diving into It Welcome to Derry. And of course, we have the next 28 years later, The Bone Temple, that's coming out in January. They just dropped their first trailer, and I imagine there's probably going to be more trailers and TV spots to come as we get closer to January. So we'll definitely be doing some more 28 years later content pretty soon as well. But It Welcome to Derry is probably the next show I'm looking forward to the most after Alien Earth.
I see some people in the chat. Pluribus. I don't know how to pronounce it, guys, so I'm sorry. Pluribus is coming November. That's the show that I'm looking forward to. So that's from the creator of Breaking Bad, and it's a Contagion show. They're saying that it's going to be amazing. The marketing is also really interesting because they're doing what I like in marketing, which is giving us nothing or close to nothing and letting us try to figure out what the story is going to be. So we know that it's a Contagion sort of show. It's from the creators of Breaking Bad, so we know it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be full of drama. And we know that a lot of the actors that were involved in Breaking Bad are also going to have roles in the show. They're not going to be playing the same character, but they have roles in the show. So that in itself makes it already interesting because I love Breaking Bad when it was on. Amazing, one of my favorite shows ever. But now that we ourselves have experience with a contagion, a pandemic of a sort, I
Yeah.
think that it's going to be interesting for us to see this show and what they create with it. It seems super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, after it's one thing to see these kind of contagion shows before before everything happened, but now after we've kind of all lived through that, I imagine we're going to see shows like that through a much different perspective now. So that's an interesting point. And yeah, I totally forgot about Pluribus. But yeah, I mean, if that's good, I might end up covering that here on the channel as well. We'll probably do, if I don't cover every single episode, we'll at least be doing some streams on it and discussing it, because I'm definitely planning on watching that one as well. Totally forgot about that. Excited for the TV show of Harry Potter. I mean, I've never been the biggest Harry Potter fan myself. I mean, I've seen all the movies. I've never read any of the books or anything. I did at least watch the movies. When the Harry Potter series comes out, I'm definitely going to watch it. If it ends up like being like really good and I'm like super into it, I'll definitely cover it on the channel. Like, again, I'll cover anything as long as it's something that I really like. But again, I've never been the hugest Harry Potter fan, so I'm not anticipating that I'm going to be covering it on the channel. But again, if it blows me away when it eventually comes around, I'll cover it, but not sure yet. Got to see what it's going to look like first. But yeah, Pluribus, that looks like another good one. Definitely looking forward to that. And there was another show that I just saw a preview of not too long ago that's going to be coming out pretty soon that I really, really wanted to check out. Last Samurai Standing. Unfortunately, it's another Netflix show, so I imagine they're probably going to be dropping all of the episodes at once, but I'll at least be doing something on that. They just dropped the first trailer for Last Samurai Standing, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty interesting. Definitely looks, it's like kind of Shogun meets Mortal Kombat in a sense. It looks pretty interesting. We will see that. We will definitely be checking that out. What is up, Zaid? Thank you so much for the Zaid raid. Big shout out to everybody who just popped over from Zaid Comics. What is up, my friend? Good to see you. And I owe you a whoa for the Zaid raid. Whoa! My brother. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. Apple TV's been doing great, but Invasion's been a disappointment. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, Invasion was something that we just only very recently started watching for the first time. I've only seen the first episode. So I have some catching up to do on Invasion. Again, seeing that I've only seen the first episode, it's kind of hard for me to judge it yet. I feel like I need to see a little bit more to see what kind of show it's really going to be. But I've heard a lot of good things about Invasion, if nothing else. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that have been talking about it, at least in my comment sections and in the Discord. So we'll see. We shall see. What about you, PM? Have you watched any more Invasion past that first episode we saw?
Well, we saw that together, but I had seen the entire season 1.
Okay.
So, and it was great. It was a great show. But then again, we go back to what we were talking about earlier. There was so much time in between that I forgot all about it, to the point where I didn't even remember that I had seen the first season of Invasion. It's disappointing, Fletcher, to hear that it's not good, because it's a great show. That's why I recommended it to Jeremy, because it's an invasion sort of show. But of course, it's been there, done that. A lot of movies and shows have done invasion by aliens. So the theme has been overused. But Invasion managed to do it in a way where it was still interesting and it kept your attention through season 1. I really like season 1. So it's disappointing to hear, Fletcher, that the next season is not as good. I was looking forward to that. But that's how it goes. Jeremy always suggests amazing shows. Then I'll suggest something to him, and it's like the worst show ever, which is how I got to see Kingdom, which is amazing. Kingdom, the zombies. Oh my God. The zombies in Kingdom, my favorite type of zombie.
Yeah.
My favorite of all zombies. And I love 28 Years. I love that. It's like my favorite movie ever. But Kingdom, the zombies, way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, in terms of like zombies that actually scared me. I mean, zombies have never really been too scary in my opinion. Um, until I saw Kingdom. Kingdom is the first show or the first anything I've seen with zombies in it where I was like legit like scared of these zombies. They are fucking scary on Kingdom. And I think you nailed it when we were trying to figure out like why are these zombies so much scarier than every other zombie? And I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned it's because they don't use their arms. And I think that's such a big part of it. We see them just run and charge at people with mouth and face only, just trying to rip the hell apart of people. Yet we don't see them really like using their arms ever. And it almost just makes them like scarier that they lead with their freaking teeth. They're not out there like trying to grab people or anything. They're solely just trying to bite and feed on you. And of course, there's the aesthetic, the makeup design of the zombies on Kingdom makes them look like legit scary. What they do with the eyes, what they do with the teeth, what they do with the skin. Like these zombies actually look terrifying. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. The zombies on Kingdom are the best zombies I've ever seen in my life, hands down, the best.
Yeah. And Frankenstein, we are forgetting Guillermo del Toro's
Yes,
Frankenstein. That is also
Frankenstein.
coming up.
Yeah,
And which, if anybody's going to have a new take on Frankenstein, it's going to be Guillermo del Toro. The
I don't
trailers
want
already
a
look
new
amazing.
Yeah, I don't want a new take on Frankenstein though. I want a real original take on the actual Frankenstein, the actual Mary Shelley
Mm.
Frankenstein, the original novel. The way that story is really told. I would love to see Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein through that lens. Now, yes, I'm sure it's going to be great no matter what. I mean, this is Guillermo del Toro we're talking about. The guy's freaking just about everything he puts out is phenomenal. Loved The Strain, loved Pan's Labyrinth. He's really good. He's one of the better filmmakers out there, and he's really good with these kind of creature kind of shows. But yeah, that's one thing I was really hoping that we'll get because still to this day, I feel like we haven't ever gotten a proper Frankenstein. At least not proper in the sense where it's like really honoring the original Mary Shelley novel, showcasing these characters for what they really are. Frankenstein has kind of become a Halloween character over the years to the point where people look at the monster and think that's Frankenstein, not even realizing that Frankenstein is actually Victor and this is
Yeah.
Frankenstein's monster. Yet you go to any kind of Halloween store and you see a Frankenstein costume, it's the monster. Like the monster has become Frankenstein over the years.
Mhm.
And I think that's such a tragedy. I'm so glad Mary Shelley isn't here to see what's happened to her beautiful work because the original Frankenstein novel is so good, but it's dark. It's like it's a really dark story, and that's what I want to see. I want to see an authentic Frankenstein story get told just for once, where Victor Frankenstein gets portrayed how he's supposed to get portrayed, and we get to see Frankenstein's monster proper. I feel like out of all of the Frankenstein movies we've gotten over the decades, not one of them has really come close to that original Mary Shelley spirit, at least in my opinion. So I'm hoping Guillermo del Toro's will be the first, or at least the closest to that, because if anyone's capable of nailing it, it's him.
Yeah. And that's what I mean, right? What I mean by a new take on Frankenstein is just
Yes,
like they did with Cinderella. A
I know.
new take for us would be the original story,
True. Yes.
because what we know is not what Frankenstein is, like you stated. But if you look at the advertising, the marketing that they're doing, they have Frankenstein written and like calligraphy, and it is not the monster that is on all of the marketing. It is Victor Frankenstein. It is the
Mhm.
doctor. So Guillermo del Toro is focusing on him. And the real monster in the story is not the actual concoction, the human being that he brings to be. It's him.
It's
He's the
him.
monster,
It's
and
him.
he's the one that's in the marketing, dressed as a doctor. So I think that
Yeah.
that's what's going to make it amazing, that it's going to focus on him. And the trailer shows a lot of his internal monologue of how do you get to the point where you think that creating a human life where there shouldn't be is a good choice. that you have the right to even do that. We saw that earlier this year with Cinderella. There was that body horror interpretation of the original Cinderella story, where the ugly stepsister, we get to see things
Yeah.
from her point of view, and we discover that in the original story, Cinderella's actually quite cruel, and the ugly stepsisters had it very rough, including the fact that they were called the ugly stepsisters.
Yeah.
And that movie was great. That was earlier this year, and it was all about body horror because that's what the original fairy tale was. Which, as we all know, I see the people in the chat talking, most fairy tales are super dark.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I like about how Alien Earth seemed to be kind of, at least where their characters are concerned, and a little bit of the storyline as well, are kind of drawing off the kind of earliest versions of Peter Pan, the darker version of the story. Because it is like the real Peter Pan, the earliest versions of that story, the earliest versions of that character were a lot darker, to the point where you could even paint Peter Pan as a villain of sorts. So yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of these kind of fairy tales, they get Disneyfied. It's unfortunate, but they get Disneyfied over the years and turned into these, what we know them to be in pop culture nowadays. But yeah, a lot of the original versions of a lot of those things are a lot darker. And yeah, I would love to see him complete his Mountains of Madness film. I don't think it's ever going to happen personally, but Guillermo del Toro was originally set to write and direct a H.P. Lovecraft At the Mountains of Madness film. And they even went so far as to start filming. They actually started production on it, and then it stopped. They released some test footage from it like a year ago, like a year or two ago. They actually released some footage from At the Mountains of Madness, or what was supposed to be Del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness. It's just one quick scene with the Shoggoth, but it was interesting. It was enough that I was like, okay, I don't know what happened during the production of this. I haven't researched it too much. I've heard some rumors, but yeah, that was a horrible circumstance of events where Guillermo del Toro didn't get a chance to finish his At the Mountains of Madness story. Because for me personally, At the Mountains of Madness is H.P. Lovecraft's best writing. It's his best story, period, hands down. I know Cthulhu gets all of the hype, which is a good story. I like Cthulhu as well. But when I think H.P. Lovecraft, the first thing that comes to mind for me is At the Mountains of Madness. I think that's his best work ever by a long shot. And it's so unfortunate that it hasn't gotten a proper adaptation after all these years. It's too bad.
Yeah, and we did see Weapons. I see people in the chat asking about Weapons. They loved it. We did see Weapons. It was one of the best jump scares when we get to see the witch.
Yes.
Jump scares don't get me anymore. I mean, we've had decades. I'm not super old, but I've had decades of jump scares. They're not interesting anymore. But Weapons has the best jump scare.
That one, we legit jumped when we were watching it. Remember when the one of
scream like
her laying in the bed? Oh my God! Like I jumped back when we saw that. Oh my God, it was so scary. Yeah, I loved Weapons personally. Fletcher asked, "Do we see Weapons? Was it what you were expecting at all?" I've seen it, and I was expecting something different. I was expecting something a little bit different too. I was not expecting the outcome and the answer that we got, but I loved it. I loved what we ended up getting. It wasn't what I expected, but I loved it nonetheless. Weapons for me was the best horror film of the year. Like for me, Weapons was what I was hoping 28 Years Later was going to be. And I like parts of 28 Years Later. I don't just want to trash the film. I actually enjoy 3/4 of 28 Years Later. I actually really enjoy. I have some small problems with the ending, but for me, Weapons was like a damn near perfect horror film. And I'm so excited that we're going to be getting a Weapons prequel where we get to learn the origins of Aunt Gladys. Even though we kind of know what ends up happening to her, it'll still be at least interesting to see her real origins and how she kind of became who she was. But no, I mean, it was definitely not what I was expecting, but I loved what we got. Like Weapons was definitely one of my favorite horror films I've seen in many, many years. Definitely the best horror film of this year for me personally. So much that we even got some Weapons boots action.
This is a true story. One night, 17 kids walked outside, and they never came back.
Those kids walked out of those homes. No one pulled them out.
7, 6, 11, 5.
There's something very wrong going on.
Moving up and down again. Don't.
What do you see that I don't?
Look at what's in front of you. Pound the bullets in the bandoliers.
You assume they were heading in a straight line? Those lines intersect here.
You're okay. You're okay.
There's no discharge in the war.
Weapons. Only in theaters August 8th. Rated R.
Wow.
Love
And
me
no,
some Weapons.
Justin, they did not have that music. This is something Jeremy made. We need
Yeah.
to get Jeremy to work on these trailers because
I'm
that
gonna
was
do
better
a
than
fun
the
one.
trailer. That was better than the Weapons trailer.
Better
We
than
need
the
you to
original, I think so. Yeah,
yes.
I must say,
Can
I
you
think it
please
is.
start working on horror film trailers?
You
Now
know,
that they
and
give awards, because
mm,
I didn't know they give out awards for
they give
trailers.
out trailer awards now. Yeah,
Yeah, we
that's
need you to work
crazy.
on these. That was amazing. That was genius.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing about Boots. Like you said earlier, it really goes with so much stuff. It goes with so like especially the horror genre. It goes with so much. I think it's going to go very well with From. So I'm definitely working on a Boots From intro, and hopefully I'll have that done over the next few weeks. Because I really want to take my time with the From one. I want the From one to be really, really good. But yeah, Weapons was great. I really enjoyed Weapons. Again, for me, it was the best horror film that I've seen in not just this year, but probably in a few years. I haven't seen Barbarian yet. I know a lot of people are saying that Weapons is a lot better than Barbarian. Admiral saw Weapons is much better than Barbarian. I saw a couple other people saying that as well, that it's definitely better than Barbarian. I have not seen Barbarian though. I need to go check Barbarian out. I kind of want to check out all of this director's work now going forward, just considering how good Weapons really was. It hasn't been often where I'm going in to a film and I get just completely surprised in the best way possible. That does not happen for me too often these days, especially this day and age where trailers tend to give away way too much of films. But Weapons was different. Going into Weapons, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I didn't expect what we got, but I loved what we got nonetheless. It blew me away. So I cannot wait for the next Weapons. I hope that the second one, that the prequel is as good. I mean, at this point, I don't know if it'll be as good, but hopefully it'll be close to as good.
Yeah, and I don't even think of 28 years. I do agree that is the best horror movie of the year, Weapons. I don't even think of 28 years later as a horror film. I think of it more of as a coming of age
More of a
film.
coming of age tale. Yeah.
It's a horrifying at times,
Yeah.
yes,
hmm
but it's not horror based. Like that is not its intention. And I loved it. I love 28 years.
hmm
I'm gonna stick by the film 100% of the way,
Hell
even
yeah.
with that ending, especially because the reviews for the Bone Temple are saying that the Jimmys The Jimmys are amazing, and
Big
that the
part of it.
character, yeah, that is the darkest villain, the darkest
Mm,
character that he's ever played,
yeah.
with that getup and that outfit anyway. So I think once you put together the two films, it's gonna make for an epic story. So I'm gonna stick by it, even with the weird ending, because I think they're gonna come through on the second, the Bone Temple. I
I
was
hope so.
very upset that they didn't use the boots for the trailer. I don't think that the music was as good. I don't think
No,
that the trailer was as good.
no.
They should have had you work on that, Jeremy, because the trailer
I'll
was
look it
just
up for him.
not, it was just not that good. They should, can you please do a Bone Temple trailer with the boots? They need to put the boots
Oh,
back
yeah.
in there.
That's a good
So
idea.
already they're disappointing me from the start. I see that they chose also a spoken word over music, but it didn't work. It did not work the way that Boots works.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, what they were going for conceptually was a good idea. Just the execution maybe just wasn't like super, super polished. Like I like the idea of, going in, tapping into some Arthur C. Clarke, predictions of the future and stuff, and how scary, insanely accurate he was, and how much stuff he predicted back then, all the way back in '64. But yeah, the trailer for the Bone Temple, it just, I mean, I don't think any trailer will ever be as good as the two original 28 Years Later trailers. Those trailers were just next freaking level good, thanks to Boots. I don't know if we'll ever, I doubt we'll ever see a trailer that good again.
Hmm. Completely agree. Completely agree.
Ever, ever, ever. But yeah, I will definitely see if I can cook up a Bone Temple Boots trailer if I can. But yeah, we got some good stuff. Again, still got some good stuff to look forward to this year. Of course, we got the final episode of Foundation this week. We got Alien Earth. Still got 3 episodes of Alien Earth, so still a little bit ways to go left with that one. And then, of course, we have some good stuff coming up in the next few months as well. Again, Stranger Things, I'll definitely be doing something on. Definitely going to be covering it, Welcome to Derry. I'll be doing weekly breakdowns and probably weekly live streams on that one. Full coverage for it, Welcome to Derry. But there's also some good films, some good movies that are going to be coming out that I'm definitely going to at least be doing some breakdowns on and doing some videos on. But yeah, we got some interesting stuff coming up over the next few weeks and months, and I am looking forward to it. Yeah, it's been a great year for horror. Like, this has been the best year for horror that I've seen in a long time. Just like collectively, the amount of really good horror films we got this year was staggering. We got so many good horror films that a really, really good one didn't get anywhere near the spotlight and the praise that it deserved. And that was The Woman in the Yard.
Yes, yes, that was a
That
good
was good.
one.
That was good.
I think it's the marketing. So
Mm,
they had great trailers. The trailer was really good
yeah,
because it was not what you ended up seeing. So that's always a positive for me. But there wasn't enough marketing. There
yeah.
really wasn't. I only heard about it when you showed me the trailer. They were
Mm,
not really advertising for it. I think if they did, they would have gotten more, of a buzz around it. But
mm.
that's a good one, guys, if you haven't seen The Woman in the Yard.
Yeah, it was good. I feel like I feel like it's one of the more underrated films of the year. And yeah, marketing was probably a big part of that, which is a little surprising considering it was a full-on Blumhouse production. Blumhouse is usually pretty good at getting their films out there. But yeah, The Woman in the Yard didn't. I mean, I don't remember seeing a ton of trailers for it on TV or stuff like that. Yeah, thinking back now in hindsight, you're right. The marketing wasn't too great on The Woman in the Yard, but a great film nonetheless. I thought it was really good and actually kind of scary in some instances. And yes, we have The Long Walk coming up as well. I'll probably be doing a breakdown on The Long Walk as well. I'm actually reading that right now. And I'm interested to see, because just the whole concept of this long walk thing just seems so bizarre. Where I get it if it's one of these races that has like a finish line, but it doesn't. The finish line only comes when everybody else around you is dead. Like, so it's a very, like, why anybody would enter a race like that to begin with is just nonsensical. So I want to dive into that one a little bit more. So I'm currently starting to read The Long Walk, and I'll definitely be doing a breakdown on that when it drops, because it looks pretty interesting. And of course, it's I don't know. It's a different one. It's a different kind of film. I don't know if I've ever seen a film like The Long Walk. Just the whole concept of it is very strange. Definitely very strange. But I'll definitely be checking it out. Top 3 horror for 2025 for a tie is Bring Her Back, Sinners, and Weapons. I have not seen Bring Her Back yet. That's another one that I totally forgot to see. And I remember when that one was first kind of being marketed, I thought, oh shit, I definitely need to check this one out. So I'm going to check that one out. Haven't seen it yet, but definitely will. Sinners, I mean, I thought Sinners was okay, but it certainly wasn't great. I mean, I feel like it was kind of like average kind of vampire kind of horror. It wasn't anything really too original there. It was kind of all stuff you've seen before in other films. There was a good cast, though. The cast for Sinners was really good. I can definitely at least say that. But for me, it's got to be Weapons number 1, Woman in the Yard number 2, and 28 Years Later number 3. Those are probably my top 3 horror films for the year.
Yeah, I agree. Weapons definitely is like number 1 of the year. And then 28 Years. With Bring Her Back, Ty Briggs, unfortunately, I think that when it comes to horror, it has gone the way of thinking about the most disturbing thing that you can do and then putting it in a movie, making a film and saying this is horrifying, which of course it is because you're thinking about disturbing topics. But that in itself is not good enough. Not for me. Point. It's like disturbing themes and topics. And so that's what made it horrifying. But was it something that was interesting or that it used the theme in a way that we haven't seen before? Not really. It was just disturbing in nature because of the topic that it dealt with and because of the ideas that were put into the film. But it wasn't creative. It wasn't creative, not like Weapons. Weapons was very creative, and it didn't have that. Compared to Bring Her Back, it did not have that aspect of being super disturbing. Even though you did get to see some body horror and some disturbing elements, what made it terrifying was the idea and your imagination as to what's going to happen next. What does this woman want? What is she? Why is she here? What is she going to do to this child, right? That's what made it interesting. So with Bring Her Back, that was my problem. It's like we can all think of disturbing things and then make a film and it'll be disturbing by nature because of the theme, but it wasn't creative enough for me.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I'm definitely gonna at least check it out. I mean, the trailers looked pretty good, but I remember you telling me, your take on it, and you and I usually have pretty good similar tastes. But I'm gonna check it out. I'm not huge into the body horror thing. Like I tend to kind of stay away from the whole body horror genre. I'm not a big fan of like Saw and all of those kind of like super gruesome movies. They start to come across like torture porn at the end of the day and not filmmaking. So there's a fine line there for me when it comes to the body horror aspect in a film. But yeah, I will check it out. And that's why I haven't seen Together yet. Like I remember when the Together trailer first dropped, I thought, oh, this could be interesting. And then I saw the rest of the trailer and I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I even want to watch this thing. This is like full on body horror in Together. But maybe one day I'll check it out.
It's about codependent relationships. And they told us that, which is interesting, right? I get it.
Yeah.
But you told me what it's about already. I don't appreciate that. Don't tell me what the movie is about. I want to find out and have it be a mystery. I think that if they didn't put that in the marketing, because that's their way of selling the movie Together, was like, oh, this is going to be codependent's like final boss, which is like, okay, well, then now we know what's going on. Now we know why the bodies are merging. You shouldn't have told us that. And then we could have figured out the metaphor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you gotta leave some things to the imagination. You gotta. I mean, the best thing to do when you're going into a movie is to not know anything about it. Yes, you get a general trailer that gives you like a little bit of an idea, but in terms of like spoiling like major plot points, in terms of what the overall message of the film is, that is not something that they should be spoiling before the film comes out. Absolutely not. And I think, yeah, that did kind of factor into why I've not been in a rush to see it as well. But I am going to see Bring Her Back. I'm definitely going to watch Bring Her Back. I mean, again, it looked pretty interesting. I meant to watch it when it first originally came out, but I think I kind of just was a little too busy at the time with 28 Years Later and everything else. That came out right around the same time as 28 Years Later, I believe. But I will check out Bring Her Back. Definitely going to check it out, see how it is. And I agree with you as well, Fletcher. I really liked the original Spanish Rec 1 and 2. Those are good films, man. Those are really, really good films. And yeah, a lot of Spanish horror can be like super freaking scary. Super scary. But yeah, Rec 1 and Rec 2, definitely good horror films. If you like really good, like well thought out horror, I would say probably check both of those out. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. But again, we got some awesome stuff to look forward to. I know we'll be covering all of the From coverage, any kind of news that comes out from related. Of course, we will be right here talking all about it with everybody. We know we got a recent casting announcement. We got a new cast member that is joining season 4. I got a little bit on her, and a little bit of information on her, not a whole lot. She's going to be some kind of pastor's daughter. There's been a lot of theories already swirling as to who this character is going to be and what characters she's already going to be connected to. Looking forward to seeing who she really is. But we got some good stuff. Yeah, Foundation, 1 episode of Foundation left. Cannot wait to see how this season ends. I've been loving Foundation. I know people who read the books aren't really liking Foundation because apparently the show has really, really strayed from the book. So that is unfortunate. I mean, when I like a good source material and I see a show isn't honoring it, like The Witcher, that bums me out entirely. I know a lot of people that love The Witcher, but most of them have never read the Witcher books. Having read the Witcher books and watched the Netflix show, so disappointed on what The Witcher did. Season 1 was pretty good. The rest of the seasons were complete shit and just completely spit on the source material, as from what I could see. But I have not read the Foundation books myself. Yeah. Witcher fell off so hard. I get the first season was good. Season 1 was pretty good. The rest of the seasons suck ass. I couldn't even get through this latest season. And now they're switching over from freaking Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth, which is probably only going to make the show 10 times worse, in my opinion. Nobody can replace Henry Cavill in a role like that and be as good or better. So I don't imagine the show's going to get any better under Liam Hemsworth. But yeah, The Witcher was just, I mean, everyone thought that was going to be the next Game of Thrones when it first came out. When the trailer for season 1 was first dropping, there was so much hype around The Witcher. And then you get to season 2 and 3, and it's like, oh, what the fuck? They're doing it again. They're not sticking with the source material. But again, I don't really have that context for Foundation because I haven't read the Foundation books. But from the people that I've talked to who have read the books, they're not liking the show at all. And that's totally understandable. If you're a fan of the source material and the show isn't honoring the source material, that's understandable. But not having that context, just looking at Foundation from a pure TV standpoint, I'm really enjoying it. Foundation is my second favorite show that's on right now, probably behind Alien Earth. So yeah, I'm going to be bummed when it's over. I think season 3 has been really, really good. Really good.
Yeah, I love Foundation. Foundation, Demisel, just my favorite robot of all time. Of all
Yeah.
time. And the thing about the book Foundation and the show Foundation is that perhaps you can be upset for the marketing, the fact that they're advertising the show as, oh, hey, this is Foundation,
Mhm.
and it is the book. You could be upset because they made that promise, but it's
Yeah.
not the same story. The things that they have changed are so central to the story that this becomes a different story. If you read the book, you're still going to be surprised with the show, because this is not even that book anymore. At this point, it's a different story.
Yeah.
It has aspects and inspiration from the book, so maybe it should have been advertised as inspired, but not necessarily that same story. And I've heard that people like it when they put that aside, when you're not expecting the book and you just realize that what they change is central. Changing the dynasty itself changes the entire thing, because Foundation is based on the Cleons, the dynasty.
Yeah. And that's one change that I think the show did that I really enjoy. I mean, having researched a little bit of the Foundation books and, seeing how the show went a completely different direction with these clone Cleons, love that. I love that idea of the clone Cleons. And even some of the book readers that I've talked to actually like that aspect. They like that. That's one of the few changes they actually like. Because it's a very interesting concept to see these kind of clone Cleons get kind of just replaced over and over and over again in this never-ending cycle. As Harry Seldon says, the same old grape destined for the same old bottle, which is so true. But yeah, I'm enjoying Foundation. Again, just looking at it from a pure TV standpoint and not knowing too much about the source material, definitely enjoying Foundation. I couldn't get past Wheel of Time either, Admiral. I'm right there with you. I couldn't get past the first 3 episodes of Wheel of Time, let alone the first season. It felt like a CW show. Like the CGI looked horrible. The acting wasn't too good. The dialogue was very juvenile, very clunky. It was not well written, in my opinion. I couldn't get past the first 3 episodes of Wheel of Time, personally. I know a lot of people love it, and that's totally cool. That's great. But just for me personally, I couldn't get past the first 3 episodes of Wheel of Time. I did not like it at all. But again, not every show is for everybody. It happens. But yeah, exactly. Horror is like music. We all have different tastes and different things that disturb us. Absolutely. 100%. Well said, Ty. But on that note, we are going to close it down now, ladies and gents. But I want to give a big thank you to everybody who came out and joined us this evening. And of course, we will be back at our regular time next week, Sunday. Every Sunday, we'll be doing our Fromville Hour streams right here on the channel. And of course, tomorrow, Tuesday, we have Alien Earth Episode 6 is dropping, and we will be doing our usual live after show discussion right here on the channel. So anyone who has not seen Alien Earth yet, guys, check it out. There's not a whole lot of great TV on right now currently, but Alien Earth is at least worth the watch. As critical as I am of certain aspects of Alien Earth, I'm still enjoying it. So check out Alien Earth if you haven't already. Try to get caught up, and then come and join us for the live after show discussion right here tomorrow on the channel. And every Tuesday we do live after shows for Alien Earth. And we are heading into the final 3 episodes right now. Episode 6 drops tomorrow, and then we will be right here diving into it for our after show discussion. But big thank you to each and every one of you. Keep throwing those From Season 4 theories in the Discord, in the tinfoil hat section, and we will continue to talk about them. And that's what we'll be doing next week. We'll be diving deep into the Discord theories. I have some very good ones that I went in there and screenshotted tonight. And I know I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to get to them tonight, because you know how these streams go. Sometimes we kind of like to let the chat dictate where the kind of conversation is going to go. Keep it organic. But we do have some very interesting Discord theories that were just put in. I did screenshot all of them. We got some from Robert Saunders, and I got Bill Dees here as well. So we'll definitely be looking at both of these next Sunday, and any other ones you guys throw in over the week, we'll definitely be taking a look at those on our next episode of the Fromville Hour as well. So keep the theories coming, guys. Hop into the Discord, drop on over to the tinfoil theory section, and let us know all of your theories for From Season 4, and we will be taking a look at more of those next week here on the channel. But until next time, stay safe out there, ladies and gents. Big thank you to all of you for hanging out with us. Keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and we will see all of you on the next one.
Okay, you guys have asked for it, and here it is. I'm about to talk